Match for Scotland against Slovenia at Hampden tomorrow evening, and we'll also keep you up to date with all the action in the lower leagues today, including of course the ongoing Challenge Cup final. Alan Rough and Hugh McDonald are with me here for the moment. We will actually add a late substitute, but as ever, it's strange with all the roadworks going on around the studio because Gordon is stuck in traffic and has been for an hour, Ruffy. I mean, we will add him to the squad. I think it's only right and proper we do that.
Yeah, but it was myself and Hugh that put that car on the motorway to sort of hold them
I'm still happy with
it. Too much listening to him
not for 4 hours. No, I don't mind listening.
Exactly.
Not for 4 hours.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's Dundee United 2, St Mirren 1 in the Challenge Cup final. It was 1-1 at half-time. Of course, Tony Andrew and Rory Loy, the goal scorers. Andrew with a peach of a shot from the edge of the box, Ruffy with his right boot into the bottom corner, and then a lovely well-worked move from St Mirren, cut back there to Rory Loy, and he just hit it first time away from Cammy Bell in the United goal. But the goal that's just been scored is an absolute peach of a goal. Mickelson is the man on the end of it, left-hand side, curls it right into the penalty box, and there he is, towering above the St Mirren defence to bullet the header into the back of the net.
Yep, and by all accounts, the first half was all St Mirren. St Mirren had the chances, and then obviously Tony Andrews scored that spectacular goal. And again, absolutely, I just can't believe that you can score a goal and then lose another one in 30 seconds. You know, that's, I mean, bad defending and organisation for Dundee United. But credit to St Mirren getting it. Now it just remains to be seen, can Dundee United hold on to this? Because you would think that St Mirren would be throwing the kitchen sink at it.
Yeah, strangely this competition over a good few years has been kind of not really the focal point of anybody's attention, but when you get two big clubs like this involved in it, Hugh, again it grows in stature.
Yeah, and it's great for the fans as well. I mean, it's great to get to a cup final, any cup final, and it's a lovely day there today. I've been trying to get Peter to take her desks outside, but I don't think we're going to be allowed that. But I mean, so it's a great day. I think it's a hugely important game, strangely, for both clubs, Peter. I think what's on stake for both those clubs as the season runs down could be materially affected by this result today, and that momentum thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange thing you say. I automatically think, you know, for Dundee United, it might galvanise them in a perverse sort of way, contradicting that, Ruffy. I think for St Mirren, I don't think it'll have any impact because they've got the bit between their teeth. They know exactly what they need to do in the games against Dumbarton and Ayr.
Yeah, obviously, if it stays that way, there's going to be a disappointment around the place. But again, it'll be up to the manager to lift the players and get that point through to them. That there is important games coming up. Yeah, the disappointment of losing, if it happens, will be there. But certainly, you're right. You know, the chance of saving their season has still to come.
Yep. So the difference between the two sides now is Thomas Mickelson's header in the Challenge Cup. Scotland against Slovenia. It is massive. Hopefully throughout this programme we will hear from Gordon Strachan. The press conference was due to start about 10 minutes ago. We'll hear from the Scotland manager. We'll get the thoughts of Hugh McDonald, Alan Rough and, fingers crossed, hopefully, Gordon Smith as well. But over and above that, there are some great championship games, Ruffy. I mean, Morton, Dunfermline and Hibs Falkirk is where we have our reporters today because there's so much at stake at the top end.
Yeah, that's why this league's been good, not only for this season, but every other season. It's superb, and obviously Morton's come out of the pack. And they will believe, you know, if Hibs starts stuttering, I think it's Hibs 1 and 8. You know, but not being defeated in 17, you know, which is a bit strange. Obviously, a lot of draws in there, but if they see Hibs stumbling today, they'll think they could maybe catch them.
Yep, okay, we will talk about the Championship. We'll also discuss the other lower leagues and start to look at Scotland's group. It's win or bust for Gordon Strachan. He's already conceded that, and we'll hear from the Scotland camp coming up next. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. 4 hours all the way through till 6 o'clock in the company of Alan Ruff, Hugh McDonald, and eventually Gordon Smith will join us. It's still 2-1 to Dundee United in the Challenge Cup final in the sunshine. Spring is eventually here, and let's enjoy it for the 2 or 3 days that it lasts. But Dundee United fans are certainly enjoying it. Short sleeves at Fir Park on a wonderful playing surface, it has to be said, Hugh McDonald.
Yeah, it's the turnaround in Fir Park has been absolutely incredible. It was like Iwo Jima at one point with the amount of sand that was on it, and now it's a really good playing surface. So all kudos to Motherwell, because it cost them money. All kudos to the ground staff as well. And I actually thought, this was wrong, I thought the good playing surface might have suited St Mirren today, but obviously not. Dundee United are 7 minutes away from lifting a cup?
Yep, absolutely, and they'll be delighted with that. Will it be able to kick-start their chase of Hibernian? It stuttered over the last month or so, and today Hibernian, still with that 7-point advantage, have a chance to extend it. There are 2 crucially big games coming up for Hibernian. One of them, of course, today against Falkirk, and they've got Morton on Wednesday, which I think will go a long way to determining how easy the run-in is going to be for the Easter Road side. In the capital for us, in the east end of the city right now, ahead of that game, is Des McKeown.
Good afternoon and welcome to Easter Road ahead of the big game in the Championship this afternoon between top of the table Hibs and second placed Falkirk. Neil Lennon's side come into the game not in the best run of form, with only 1 win in the last 6 league games. However, with only 1 defeat since the 2nd of December, it's hardly panic stations. Neil Lennon needs to use a squad today without John McGinn, who's on international duty with Scotland, and also goalkeeper Ofer Marciano is on international duty with Israel. Falkirk come into the game knowing that it's a last gasp chance for them to win automatic promotion back to the Premiership. Team news shortly from Easter Road.
Okay, there's Des at Easter Road ahead of this one. And of course, Neil Lennon's been talking about the game. It's not just Falkirk that are their main rivals. Suddenly today, Morton could emerge as well, something the Hibs manager's well aware of.
At the minute, you know, we have a 7-point gap with a game in hand, which is a nice cushion to have. And Morton, if they win the game in hand, can cut the lead to 4 points. So you'd have to say that Morton would probably be our nearest rivals. However, you know, we can only concentrate on what we do, and we've got Falkirk and Morton back to back now. So, you know, we're looking for maximum points from both, which would really put us in a strong position.
Yeah, I think at that point, if they win those 2 games, Ruffy, people will say they're home and dry.
Yeah, but we've been saying that all year. But they keep having these slips, you know, and score lines that you wouldn't imagine, Dumbarton, etc. So really, obviously, if you get wins against the teams that you're challenging, that's the best wins to get. So I think everybody will be focused in that game. I believe there'll be 16,000 in the stadium, which will be a fantastic atmosphere as well. But no, I think Falkirk, the disappointment of last week for them, I think they'll come out fighting today, and I think it'll be a very close game.
Yeah, well, as Des mentioned, they're only 1 win in the last 6 league games. Andrew Shinnie is another man who's going to try and put that right today in the Hibs midfield. He doesn't have John McGinn alongside him, but he has highlighted the fact that all the players are disappointed that they've slipped up and had a few disappointing results.
Really frustrating. Obviously, we had a great result in the quarter-final against Ayr, and then we went to Dundee United and played brilliantly and got a win. So we're looking to kick on. Then we've dropped a couple of points to Dumbarton. Everyone was frustrated after the games. It is disappointing, but we can't mope around about it. We've got to get on with it, and we've got a big game on Saturday. So we came in, we've trained well all week, and we're ready.
Yep, so Hibs against Falkirk, and you can't rule out Falkirk going there and actually winning, because the one thing about Peter Houston, in the final quarter, this is where Falkirk seem to be stronger year on year.
Well, that's a course and distance factor, absolutely, Peter, you're right. I don't think you could rule out anything today on any of these matches. I think the Championship today, every single match in the Championship, you could make a case for it being the match of the day in certain sense. You know, even Raith Rovers with Queen of the South is so vital to Raith Rovers. But of course, Hibernian and Falkirk at the top of the end of the league is going to be crucial. We keep saying this, isn't it? We keep saying 6 points. You know, if they could get 2 wins together and just increase that. But I think if Hibs win today, I think not that they'll have dismissed Falkirk, but they've got a good amount of daylight on Falkirk.
Yeah, and another man that likes going out to games is our reporter Kevin Harper. Greenock, the best place to be in the sunshine, and he's there for Morton against Dunfermline.
Thanks, Peter. Today, Morton with a win can send out a strong message to Hibernian that Jim Duffy's side are the real challengers to the Championship this season. In contrast, Dunfermline, they're not out of the relegation trouble just yet. They're only 5 points ahead of St Mirren.
Yep, it's going to be difficult there, Kevin. Of course, Morton and Jim Duffy's side have been superb at home.
Yeah, Peter, just a little stat for you. If they get a win or don't get beat today, that's a full calendar year without a defeat at Capello, which is incredible for a team that obviously came up into the Championship as well.
And there's no doubt, Kevin, that Morton and Jim Duffy will be casting an eye towards Easter Road, because a win for Hibs really does give Morton the chance to leapfrog Falkirk.
Yeah, they're sitting joint second today, Peter, so a better Morton with a better result than Falkirk will be sitting come the end of the day, you know, in second place herself, which is fantastic. But having said that, Peter, Dunfermline they've only beat Morton 3 times in 12, but 2 of them have been here at Capello.
Well, there you are. That sets it up nicely for us. You're talking about every game certainly having something to play for. This one has, and I look at their team, Morton, I've picked them in the treble, Hugh, because I just can't see past them.
Well, poor old Jim Duffy, eh? There he is. Jim's sitting in the dressing room, trying to give the team talk, trying to get them all going. They've got this programme on in the background and say, right, boys, just there's no point going out. we're on the Peter Martin treble, we're on the binger. We've not got a chance. I think Morton, we've said this, and it bears repeating, what they're doing at the moment is outstanding. It's astonishing. Outperforming budget, outperforming expectations. I'm like you, I would expect them to win today. I watched them a couple of times this season, though, and they're very enterprising under Alan Johnson. A couple of excellent players in their team as well, so interesting game, but yes, I would expect Morton to win. Yep,
and of course, as Kevin highlighted there, Ruffy, strangely enough, it's so tight at the bottom end in Dunfermline, 5 points above St Mirren, and St Mirren will know in the next couple of weeks they've got a chance to drag more than a few teams into it if they can keep this form up.
Yeah, that was a bad result for Dunfermline last week, Ayr United. I think everybody thought that was going to be a home win. So yeah, you're perfectly right. You know, Ayr United and Dumbarton playing today, that's a massive game for them as well. But if either one of them, you know, get a result today, Dunfermline are back in it. It's just there for everybody to see, because once you go in a losing streak, it's very difficult to get out of it.
Yeah, I can tell you, we will go back to. We will be going back to Easter Road and Capello. We'll get the teams from both guys very shortly indeed. We're into the final, 90 seconds, possibly injury time as well. Dundee United look as if they could hold on, Hugh, at 2-1.
Yeah, and it would be an important win for them. It would be a win that says, you know, when a big, and there's going to be big matches coming from now on, and every league match is going to be a big match, and Ray McKinnon will say, well, when a big match came in front of a big crowd, we performed, we won the cup, and he'll be looking for his players to take that on in the league after a kind of a very poor spell. And that momentum, that confidence will be vital, because Dundee United, you know, even with this slump, are almost, I would say, they're certain to be in the playoffs. So they've got a lot to play for this season. You know, no matter if they end up 4th in division, they've got a shootout for Premier League football, so Premiership football. So a lot to play for the United, and that's an important result for them.
Yep, we'll be going back to Easter Road very shortly. I've got to get your thoughts, guys, on the other matches before we start to talk about Scotland against Slovenia, which is just massive tomorrow night. Ayr United against Dumbarton. This is an Ayr United side that are unbeaten against the Suns this season, and Ayr United, I don't think they believe that they'll be involved in the relegation, but suddenly they find themselves in it.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously going to Dunfermline and getting a win there will give them confidence this week, something for them to build on. I think they're beginning to get some of their injured players back as well. But we all know Dumbarton have got a track record this year, just going going to games and spoiling it, you know, and getting a result, whether it's a draw or an away win. So I think, again, as you said at the beginning, every one of these games in that division today are so tight.
Yeah, and at the bottom end, we were talking about teams getting hauled into it. Wraith Rovers, John Hughes, I had a little chat with him in midweek. Obviously, he's there to the end of the season, maybe to try and prove a point that he's a good manager. Shouldn't be at a club at Wraith Rovers, should be at a bigger club when you look back at his CV, Hugh McDonald, but he's just got to get them away from the bottom end, and they are at home to Queen of the South today.
And I think it's going to be difficult for him. I really do. I think that if you look at he came on and had a good initial burst of form, but Queen of the South under Gary Neesmith are excellent, and I would take that. I would take that as an away win today, Peter.
Yeah, let's go back to Easter Road. Des McKeown is there for us in the sunshine. No John McGinn, but I think they might have enough in reserve. Do you, Des?
Well, there's every chance that they will have, Peter, because they have the strongest squad in the division, that's for sure. And Neil Lennon actually makes 4 changes to the side who struggled here last week against Dumbarton. Ophir Marciano is in international duty with Israel, John McGinn in international duty with Scotland. James Keatings drops to the bench and David Gray misses out altogether. Their places go to Ross Laidlaw, Jordan Forster, Dylan McGeoch and the returning Jason Cummings. That means that Hibs will line up with Ross Laidlaw in goals, a back 4 of probably Darren McGregor at right back, a middle 2 of Effie Ambrose and Jordan Forster and Lewis Stevenson at left back. In the middle of the pitch they'll probably line up with the 4 Martin Boyle, Andy Shinnie, Marvin Bartley and Dylan McGeoch doing the central role, with both Grant Holt and Jason Cummings up front. On the bench it's Gallagher, Hanlon, Fivey, Handling, Keatings, Graham and Martin. Peter Houston makes 2 changes to the side who lost last Saturday against Morton, and out go goalkeeper Danny Rogers and frontman Nathan Austin. They're replaced by Bob McHugh and Robbie Thompson. They'll line up with Robbie Thompson in goals, a back 4 of Lewis Kidd, Luca Gasparotto, Peter Grant and Luke Leahy, a middle 4 of Fraser Aird after his goal here for Canada the other evening, Mark Kerr, Tom Taiwo, Craig Sibbald, and a front 2 of John Baird and Bob McHugh. On the bench Danny Rogers, Aaron Muirhead, Miles Hippolyte, Nathan Austin, Lee Miller, Scott Shepherd and James Cragen. Our referee is Kevin Clancy.
Okay, Des, you've been chatting about it in your column this morning in The Sun, and you're in the sunshine there on Leith. You might as well give us your thoughts on what we think is win or bust for the Scotland manager. He thinks that too as well.
Yeah, I don't think that's any surprise to anyone who would know Gordon Strachan personally or indeed professionally. Peter, I think Gordon is certainly a principled individual, and I think if Scotland don't win tomorrow night, I think Gordon will probably offer his own resignation. If not, the SFA have got a huge decision to make, because the SFA entrusted Gordon after the last defeat that there was enough in the tank to take us to the World Cup qualifiers. I severely doubt that that's the case, but let's hope that we can get a victory tomorrow night to give us something to hang on to going into the big game against England in June.
Yeah, and of course you're at a venue that provided us with just agony over 90 minutes. It was just painful to watch Scotland against Canada.
Yeah, it wasn't a night that, well, I suppose from a managerial perspective and a coaching perspective, it confirmed to Gordon Strachan a number of different things, not particularly positively. I think it's now given him, well, it's made up his mind in certain players. I think that a number of the players from the team who played out here on Wednesday night will not feature from the starting 11 tomorrow night. And I think the one element for today's game here at Easter Road is the pitch looks to have recovered somewhat from obviously the debacle of Wednesday night, where the pitch was far from perfect. But I think Gordon will have learned quite a few things from the performance of the other evening in terms of who he can trust to get into such a big game tomorrow evening.
Yeah, just a last point. We will come back to you just before kick-off, Des, but a last point on the Challenge Cup today. Dundee United have edged it by 2-1. Ray McKinnon will be hoping that kick-starts their challenge towards Hibernian. It might look a forlorn hope, I have to suggest to you, but nevertheless, I think St Mirren, I don't think it'll affect St Mirren. I think they've always known the job in hand is, you know, just getting to the playoff place at the bottom end of the table.
Well, I think now, Peter, I think Jack Ross, the players and indeed the supporters at St Mirren have now got their eyes set on 8th position. I don't think that, I said a couple of weeks ago when we covered one of the games down at St Mirren Park, I don't think that St Mirren will finish bottom of the division. I now don't think they'll actually finish ninth. I think they'll get above two teams in their quest to stay in the Championship. I think today was always going to be a morale boost if they won the Cup, but I'm sure Jack Ross and the players and everyone connected to the club knows that it's far more important for them to stay in the second tier of Scottish football.
What do you make of that, Hugh? 8th? That's a shout.
Well, I wouldn't argue with this because my prediction was way off, and I've had to change my prediction. I thought about 5 or 6 weeks ago, well, certainly around about Christmas, I thought they were so, not just detached, but just the feeling around the club. I just couldn't see them come away back. I now don't see them being relegated either. And it's funny that Des saying 8th. I mean, I was talking to Gordon Scott, the club chairman, and he was putting, he said, obviously, he says, I'll take anything, bar relegation. He said he was talking about 6th place being a possibility. As Des has pointed out, 5 points off Dunfermline. If they continue the kind of form they've had, recently, someone could get out of it. I just think football's a dicey business, and there's still results to be fought for. And I think there'll be a few people looking at statements like we'll get out of this, and say, well, we'll get out of this too. I think Ayr Dumbarton's a huge game today. I mean, I think they're all are,
Yeah.
but I could see if Ayr won today, given that they've been they've struggled at home and to get a win. And if they won today, I think on the win, the back of winning last week, they could say to themselves, because I've been talking to Ayr United supporters, watched them a couple of times, and they're talking about, performances haven't been bad, our results have been bad. If they get another 3 points, that would further increase the pressure.
Yeah, well, on the very sunny Fir Park pitch, the Dundee United players are celebrating. Ray McKinnon will be well pleased as well, Ruffy. That's a shot in the arm for him, especially off the back of difficult financial results, 1.55 million in debt, which is difficult enough to manage for the chairman, Stephen Thompson, but over and above that, Hibs look in the automatic promotion spot, and it's by no means a given that they're going to, first of all, get past either of the two championship sides.
Yeah, and we keep talking about Hibs. we keep talking about how important it is for Hibs to be back in the big time. Equally so Dundee United. I mean, Dundee United are a massive club with a massive history. They can't be languishing in that championship for too long. So they really need to get into the playoff and believe that they can win the playoff, whoever they come up against, because they really need to be back in the big league. And I think we would agree that we need teams like that. We need the derby games. We need them, the supporters to come back, and certainly that win today might just give them the belief that they can charge up there.
Okay, I'm getting worried about Gordon now, are you? No, that's fine. That's okay. Not that it has, not that we're missing the overall quality, but we like him as a third partner on a Saturday afternoon. It's, that must be the worst traffic jam of all time that he's caught in, Ruffy.
Well, fortunately, we just missed it by the skin of our teeth, and anybody stuck in it is it's a horrible thing, stuck in a traffic jam.
And a lovely day.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Dundee United win the Challenge Cup in 2-1 victory over St Mirren, and over and above that, we've been to Easter Road to chat to Des McKeown about Hibs against Falkirk today. We're going to be going into the Scotland camp very shortly. Gordon Strachan, incidentally, press conference was just over half an hour ago. We'll hopefully get you some of the information from that press conference too. We're off to Capello. Kevin Harper is there. In the next couple of minutes, we'll be speaking to him to get his thoughts on Morton against Dunfermline as well. So, Scotland, Slovenia, it's the main focus of attention, and we all know what's at stake for Gordon Strachan. He has been talking about it, and I think the obvious one that he did mention was we need to be better than what we were in midweek, because it was woeful, Ruffy.
Yeah, I don't think it was woeful. You can't get away from that, but I don't think it'll have any bearing on what's going to happen tomorrow night. It's disappointing. The reason we had the game was to let players see what they could do. They never did it. We looked for a wee morale boosting 2-3-0 to go into the game, have everybody up for it going along, and that never happened either. So now we're all going along with in trepidation, because if we don't know what the 11 is, I hope Gordon Strachan knows what his best 11 is.
Well, we're going to try and pick it shortly, but the nature of this programme is we can duck and dive from one topic to the next. Capello, Morton, Dunfermline. A quick update on the teams from Kevin Harper.
Here, Morton, the Greenock team is Derek Gaston, Lee Kildare, Thomas Ware, Michael Donald, Gary Oliver, Ross Forbes, Jamie Lindsay, Aidan Nesbitt, Lawrence Shanklin, Mark Russell and Andy Murdoch. Dunfermline team is Sean Murdoch, Jason Talbot, Andy Gregan, Nat Weatherburn, Michael Moffat, Lee Ashford, Paul Mullen, Callum Higginbottom, John Hennon, Callum Morris and Nicky Clark.
As far as the two teams are concerned, we know exactly what's at stake for them now, Kevin. The one thing Hugh McDonald's mentioned is Jim Duffy has worked wonders with that side. I mean, the awards are usually handed out. Sometimes they provide us with a surprise. Jim Duffy deserves tremendous credit when you consider his budget in comparison to Neil Lennon. Could he sneak Manager of the Year in the Championship?
I think, Peter, I think he's got to be up there with Neil Lennon, especially if Hibs go up. But I think what Jim Duffy has done here has been exceptional. I think first and foremost on the budget he's got, I think he's brought in some good players, and in the loan market he's done exceptionally well in that. So for me, he probably has been the Manager of the Year, because with Hibs and Neil Lennon, probably expected Hibs and Neil Lennon to be top of the tree, but for Morton to be sitting joint second going into this game, unbeaten in a calendar year, if they don't get beat today, then that's just exceptional stuff, especially getting promoted last year.
Yeah, I've got to ask you about Scotland. Hugh and Ruffy and myself are wondering what team he will pick. You, as a forward-thinking player, here's the biggest dilemma, I think, for Gordon Strachan. Who does he pick as a striker? Who would you choose, Kevin?
It's a difficult one, Peter, for me. I just think that we've got no identity as a nation right at this present moment in time. You know, I think he's got to pick players that are in form. You know, having said that, you know, for me, I think Lee Griffiths has got to play up top. I would go with two up top, to be honest. I think I'd probably play maybe Chris Martin up top with him off him. You know, Lee Griffiths off him, because it's a must-win game. Simple as that. We don't win, then we're not going to the World Cup. Simple as that. And you know, I think it's very, very doubtful that we will, even if we do win.
Yeah, well, that's a point I think Hugh McDonald will share your opinion on that, Kevin. He reckons maybe two up front. That would be a real push for Gordon Strachan, I would suggest to Hugh McDonald.
Yeah, I don't see it. One of the things I see about Gordon all the time is that the way he sticks to what for right or wrong, he just sticks to. He isn't moved by things, isn't shaped by things. We can think of how long it took him to get Griffiths not only into the squad but into the team. We think about how long it takes for certain players to get into the squad. We'll look at a squad at the moment which hasn't got a right back in it at all. Yet there's a Scottish right back playing in the English Premiership, who Gordon obviously doesn't fancy. So it means whatever you right or wrong, like Gordon's very, very strong mod. I think he'll go with his usual setup. I think he'll go for 4-2-3-1. I think he'll go for Chris Martin up front. As he's one, or Stephen Fletcher, one of the two. Yeah. I don't think Griffiths will start. I think the 5 Celtic players will start, but we'll go into that later. But I don't think Gordon's going to go, bring out the old trumpet and sound the cavalry that charge here at all.
It's funny you saying that, Hugh. Here's a suggested probable lineup that I thought he might go for.
You've been doing this in the sneak.
I've jumped into it and suggested that this is a probable lineup. It also is probably tinged with Ruffy. This is what I'd like to see him do. I mean, I'm struggling to pick the striker other than suggest we've got to get goals, and I think Griffiths deserves a good 75 minutes of a run at it. The back line, Gordon, Anya, Martin, Mulgrew and Tierney. And then Brown, Armstrong, Snodgrass, Ritchie, Forrest and Griffiths. What do you make of that, Ruffy?
Yeah, I wouldn't be dismayed by that team. I looked at it last night and when I went to bed,
What?
When I went to bed, I started the gung-ho stuff and I said, why don't we go for 4-4-2? And then I obviously slept on it. And when I woke up in the morning, I had the trumpet. I went, why do we not go 3-5-2? Why do we not just go for the jugular?
Yeah.
You know, why not? This team is going to play with one striker up. They're going to flood the midfield. Why not give them something to think about by playing more forward players and attacking them? You know, there's nothing to lose now. Let's just go for it.
I wouldn't be arguing with that as a theory, and I'm not arguing that as a case either, but I'm arguing it, I would argue against it as it's not a Gordon striking thing.
Yeah.
And that team as well, remember, you both dropped to Scotland captain.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
I don't see him doing that.
You see Fletcher in there.
I see it's 4-2-3-1. I agree with your back four, and I think the two holders will be Fletcher and Brown. The three middle definitely is going to play Forrest, Armstrong and another. And I think up front will be Martin or / Fletcher.
Well, he's definitely going to play. Yeah, he'll definitely play Brown. Yeah, but it's an interesting one. I mean, we'll get a chat on that. I mean, the striker is just where I think he's got to try and get someone to get the goals.
Well, he's already said, you know, that the striker's the big position. You know, none of his strikers are showing anything. And I don't know if they're showing anything in training. That might be the one who looks the sharpest in the training. But we're talking about two players who he doesn't fancy. No, Rhodes and Griffiths, because if he fancied them before, he'd have played in the three previous games. So we're now in a situation where he's now got to convince himself that he was wrong. If he picks any of them. Because, I mean, he should have done that a long time ago when Lee Griffiths was scoring 35, 40 goals a season.
Yeah, well, the good news is the cavalry's here. John Wayne's arrived. Gordon Smith will join us after the break. I think the big news from that last chat is that Ruffy woke up with a trumpet in the bed in the morning. That's really put the cat among the pigeons. I mean, we've all woke up with a trumpet, but at the end of the day, you know, do we really think about it? No, we don't. We'll be back after the break.
Post
Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show, and the competition was see if you can work out what's wrong with the studio when we come back. There it is. There it is. Gordon, I'm glad you're smiling, because when people are caught in traffic, it is the worst. But
Peter, unbelievable. I mean, it was an hour and a half from the south side of Glasgow to getting to here in the car on the M74. It's an absolute shambles. I mean,
yeah,
it really is. The traffic, I don't know, is everybody out in their car today for some reason? It's like,
well, it is sunny. I mean, that's the other key point there as well.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I mean, the great thing from your own point of view is you can listen to CDs of yourself singing. So that's that's good. Listen, we're delighted.
How did you know that?
That's a sneaky feeling. Listen, we're delighted you're with us. Of course, we've just been touching on Scotland. We're going to go back to as well Easter Road, because the Championship has got so much to play for. Just in case you've missed it, I don't think you will have. Dundee United going round with the Challenge Cup, because they defeated St Mirren by 2-1. But on the Scotland front, here's what Gordon Strachan had to say, Gordon, on the game in midweek and what we're facing, totally different, against Slovenia.
Better, unless we're very lucky. So we're not going to try and take luck into it. We've got to be better.
Well, we've got to be better, and that's the understatement, because it was poor in midweek, and Hugh's already mentioned we've come up with a probable team. We think maybe 5 Celtic players can go straight in there. Who would you play as striker?
If I was picking a striker, it depends what's the system. I know that he likes to play one up front, and then sometimes you need the bigger guy, you need a Martin or a Fletcher. But I think in terms of the one I would think most chance of getting a goal would be Griffiths. I'd play Griffiths.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I certainly agree with you on that. I would go for that. As far as the back line is concerned, of course, Christophe Berra played alongside Charlie Mulgrew in the centre of defence. Russell Martin was talking in midweek. Does he come back into the lineup? He obviously thinks that a win against Slovenia could kick-start our chances of qualifying.
So it's as simple as that. And come out here and say, we need to play positive football and stuff like that. We need to go and win a game on Sunday if we can. And we need everyone pulling together to do that. And everyone's confident in the work that we're doing this week to go and get results. It's as simple as that. We have to be.
Yeah, they have to be. There are two areas. Got to try and find out a way we can score goals. I think we need to score first, Gordon Smith.
Yeah.
I also think, we always seem to give the opponents a goal.
Yeah, we do. We're vulnerable in that respect, and there's no doubt about it. I mean, I think Wednesday was a good example of that. You played against Canada, a team who are well down the FIFA rankings. I think 137th or something like that in FIFA, and yet we lose the first goal in that game, and it means we've always got to fight back. And you're always. It's a funny thing about being at home and losing the first goal as well is what happens is you have to push on a bit, and then the opposition can then sit in and catch you on the counter attack if they get the first goal. So it's a crucial element. I think it's a winnable game. I think Slovenia are a good side, and we're not that far behind them. If we play the right team and Gordon picks the right team and gets the tactics right, I think we've got a chance of winning this game, because I don't see why we should be afraid of Slovenia in any account. You know what I mean? They're a good team. There's no doubt about that. They've got some good players, but I don't think we're that far behind them in terms of ability-wise.
I think addressing, there's two questions, isn't there? One is who would you pick, and the more probable, the more maybe substantial question is who do you think Gordon Strachan will pick?
Yeah.
I mean, and that my views on the team are all through the prism of who I think Gordon Strachan will pick.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll pick Lee Griffiths up front to start, because that's not what he does.
No.
And Griffiths, he'll make an excuse. He'll say Griffiths hasn't played this season. I would play Griffiths up front, because I think Griffiths has got much better on the counter as well. Picks a better pass than he would have at Wembley, where he didn't. So I think he's been better coached. I just think, people are talking about this game, the last chance saloon. I don't think it's the last chance saloon. I think we're barred for the last chance saloon. We're sitting in the park with a bottle of fortified wine on the roundabout, howling at the moon. That's how far away we are.
Yeah.
I just think there is no reasonable chance, of us qualifying for for the World Cup. None at all.
And the great thing about having you on the programme, Hugh, and that's why I love it, is you've painted a lovely picture there that automatically, I mean, I'm there at that roundabout, Ruffy, with the fortified wine and you howling at the moon. You know,
I've got a bottle of gin with me.
I mean, see, to qualify for the World Cup, people are saying that, you know, last chance saloon, we'll have to kick-start our campaign. If we've got a chance again, we'll have to win tomorrow. What we're going to have to do is finish in front of England. Finishing second is 99.9% not going to be enough because of the points we've already dropped.
Do you not think do you not think you will get one of the top 8 places for the playoff? Do you not think so? Well,
I think we'll be the team. I think that is a group, especially with the amount of points we've got.
But there's a couple of groups who don't have a lot of points for even in second space. There's some of them do. There's some of the groups, like, you know, you're looking at the one last night. There's Serbia one. They've got 11 points each at the top, and Spain and Italy, I think, 13 points each. So they're teams who are definitely going to be. One will win the group, one will win the playoff, But we're not that far behind. If we beat Slovenia, for example, we're only a point behind them. I think what you're saying is right in respect of that. Slovakia will probably win their game
against Malta.
They're going to beat Malta.
Yes,
they're going to definitely beat Malta. So they go then. I think Slovakia then go on to 9 points. So we'd have 7. So it would be 9, 8, 7 sort of thing. So we need to have a run. There's no doubt about that. We can't continue to have as few points as we're getting just now and still hope to qualify. I agree with that.
And there is the small matter that I think we have to beat England at Hampden Park. No small feat, I have to say. That every game becomes a must-win now. We're going to look at that group table. We're going to hear more from Gordon Strachan and Russell Martin later on the programme. We'll also hear from a former England international, Ray Parlour, talking about his old side Arsenal and that forthcoming Scotland-England game as well. And we might hear from a few of the people involved in the Challenge Cup as well. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show here on STV. Every Saturday, 4 hours, keeping you up to date with all the football across Scotland. And, of course, this weekend's special because it's World Cup qualifiers. The bid to reach Russia in 2018. We'll continue our discussions on Scotland. You can give us your views at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Who would you play up front? We're in the Championship as well. A lot of our attention will focus on the key games there. Let's first of all hear from some fans because Des McKeown has been out there chatting to a few fans ahead of Hibs against Falkirk.
I'm here at Easter Road with Alexander, a young Hibs fan. Alexander, how do you see the game going today against Falkirk?
We're going to do really well and we're going to win 2-1.
Well, there you go, Alexander. Thanks. We're going to win 2-1. At Easter Road with Robert, who's neutral, but he's chosen the big game in the Championship today. Robert, what do you expect in the game today?
I expect a victory for the home team, for Hibs. I know they haven't been playing well lately at home, but I expect maybe a 2-1, 3-1 victory for Hibs today.
And how important will be the fact that John McGinn's not on the side today? Obviously, you don't think that will impact on the end result?
Not impacting the result, but it'll impact on the team because he's a fabulous player. I've seen him 4 or 5 times this season. And I can't understand why he's not playing today.
Girls, how do you see the game going today?
Really good, yeah. Yeah, we're pretty excited for it, aren't we?
Do you expect a victory for your team?
Definitely. Of course, always.
Always.
You've got to be positive when you're a Hibs fan.
That's very nice to hear. And in terms of John McGinn not here, but Jason Cummins coming back in from suspension, how does that impact on the team?
Sure, we'll manage it. Yeah, we're good hoping players. For a goal. Hoping for a goal for Jason Cummins.
Alexander's favourite player will probably return to the starting lineup today. Jason Cummins comes back into the team, we think. Alexander, does that make you happy? Wednesday before he's back.
He's coming back on Wednesday.
Wednesday, is he? Well, there you go. That's news from Alexander. And team news ahead of the big game here in the Championship at Easter Road. Thank you. Cheers, Alexander.
Bro, it's great when a 7-year-old corrects you, isn't it? Yeah. That's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, Des out there getting the thoughts of some of the Hibs fans. We'll be back with Des very shortly. Let's switch our attention to Capello ahead of that game there, Morton against Dunfermline. OK, Kevin, it's D-Day and decision time all across our programme. Who do you think is going to win that one, Morton, Dunfermline?
Got to fancy Morton, Peter. Keep this unbeaten run going. You know, I just feel they'll have too much in the attacking area for Dunfermline today.
And what about your old team, Hibernian against Falkirk? It's a close one to call.
It's a difficult one to call. There's always good games between the two, but you know, I can't bet against Hibs. You know, I think it's a huge game for them. I think if they win, you know, I think they're all the way to the title.
Okay, excellent. I don't know if you heard it there, but your trumpet was in the background there, Ruffy, when Kevin was just about to give us his predictions. He's there. He's gone for Hibs. No surprise there. You stick together, you ex-Hibbies, don't you?
Well, I think there's not many times that they've had a season like this where they're sitting up top of the league. You know, I know they're not on a good run just now, but you know, there's big times ahead. Obviously, winning the cup, and this is another one if they could win the league as well. And 16,000 supporters at Hibs that hasn't happened for a long time. So it's just everything's going well just now.
Yep, we could do with Hibs back in the top flight, that's for sure. Des McKeown is there. Des, please tell me you got the number from the 7-year-old you interviewed. We want him on as a pundit next week.
Well, given that Ruffy's suggestion of 16,000 fans here, Peter, I single-handedly found the 7-year-old and told him that Cummins was actually playing and never to correct me again. So he's been put in his place.
How do you see that one going today, Des?
It is going to be tight, Peter. The last time they played here, it was a draw between the two sides. Hibs have edged it both times at the Falkirk Stadium, but I just think in the big games, Hibs have turned up, and I expect Hibs to come out victorious today.
Yeah, and we did mention there about crowds turning up to games. I mean, there are a number of chairmen, chief executives have mentioned the turnout in the Championship. Hibs, again, their fans have been travelling near and far. What's the crowd like there today?
It is looking very healthy, Peter. The fans are just filing in from the sponsors lounges down below us, but the rank and file supporters over on the far side of the stadium from the main stand, absolutely jam-packed behind the goals, both looking very healthy. Good number through from Falkirk as well, so great game here at Easter Road and well attended, which is exactly what we want to see, along with the sunshine in the background.
Yep, absolutely. As soon as that song comes on, I expect you to be doing the harmonies, Des, to be perfectly honest with you. Just one little footnote from you. Morton against Dunfermline. Kevin's out there for us. How do you see that one going?
Again, when you talk about big performances and big results, I think Morton are now the team that may just catch on to Hibs. I think they probably pose the greatest danger to Hibs winning the league, and obviously they arrive here on Wednesday night. I think they'll come having won 3 points today against Dunfermline.
Okay, fantastic stuff from Des, and I'll tell you, if you're a man who goes to football regularly, that's a game. I mean, that just shows you the attraction of the Championship. It's one game in midweek where you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to make the journey through and see that one. I know, Ruffy, you know, I've got a spare seat in the car. I don't know if you want to come through with me on a Wednesday to see that game.
Well, if there's any guarantee that the team that I want to win wins, I'll be with you. You know, like I'm a very bad, very bad loser, and I just can't get my head around sitting at a game and watching my team getting beat. But no, I think that would be a 3-pointer anyway. So yeah, that'd be a chance.
It's acceptable if your team deserves to win. I always think you can only look at football and think if you deserve to win, fine, you're happy. But if you don't deserve to win, you can be quite, you know. You've got to be considered as a normal feature of football, you know what I mean? But these are good games that are on today.
That's what I was saying earlier.
Yeah, I think they're all they're all relevant matches, aren't they? Certainly, Dunfermline's on a decent run. Morton are very good, and that was a tremendous result last week to beat Falkirk away and put themselves. They've got games in hand, as we know, Peter, over Falkirk. Same points, but they can overtake Falkirk, and this will be a big boost to them today because they might have a belief that you know, Falkirk might lose this game to Hibs, which means that they could be above, even with the games in hand, they could be above Falkirk and really looking strong for second spot, and maybe even not just second, but my viewpoint of maybe going and attacking Hibs and putting them under pressure. You know, but the Hibs Falkirk game's interesting because they drew the last time they played at Easter Road, as Des mentioned there. But the thing about it is that it's Falkirk have only won one of their last 6 league games. You know, and that's not a great run for a team that are sitting top of the league. You know what I mean? It's not great form. I don't know whether there's a nervousness about their play just now.
Yep, okay, we'll keep you right across that. We'll be going to Easter Road for regular updates. We'll be going to Capello for updates in the Championship as well. We'll keep you right up to date with that. Dundee United are the Challenge Cup winners. 2-1 victory today at Fir Park against St Mirren. They've got to thank Tony Andrew, who opened the scoring. Rory Loy got the equaliser before Thomas Mickelson headed a bullet header past the St Mirren goalkeeper to give them the eventual win. And Ray McKinnon said it's a huge shot in the arm for the side after some difficult results over the last month or so, and he's certainly hoping that can kick-start their surge at the top end of the table, because I think the general consensus, Hugh McDonald, is that it's Dundee United, Falkirk and Morton who'll be battling it out.
Yeah, that's what I certainly that's what I think. That, of course, doesn't preclude every game in the Championship being, really, crucial today. Yeah. Wraith's just kicked off, for example, and we talked about that, Gordon, earlier, but that's a huge game now because Wraith are now involved very much in this the bottom of the absolutely
the playoffs. So.
And I mean, Queen of South, they're probably the only club in that division who are in a sort of limbo. I can't see them going down in any way because I think Gary Naismith has got them playing very well, but I don't see them get into the playoff spots. But if everybody else in that division has got something to play for.
Yeah, well that's it. I mean, Wraith have won 2 of their last 3 games in the league. And that's made a big difference. I mean, John Hughes is going in there and he'll get them going probably. He might get a thing from, but if they hadn't won those 2 games, Wraith would be sitting probably bottom of the league at the moment, wouldn't they? So from that point of view, they have to put together results. Queen of South were on a great run, probably just fallen off of late. They looked as at one stage as if they could be maybe even going challenge, but they've lost 3 of the last 4 league matches, Queen of South, which is not a good run for a team that was in such winning form, you know.
Yeah, well, let's look at the fixtures that you've got to keep your eye on throughout the afternoon. We'll continue to talk about Scotland. We'll look at Scotland's group involving England as well. But first of all, the Championship. Ayr United to Martin, Hibs against Falkirk, Morton Dunfermline and Wraith Rovers against Queen of the South. And there's the confirmed result from Fir Park. Dundee United 2, St Mirren 1. Into League 1, Alloa Queen's Park, Brecon City East 5, Livingston Airdrie, Peterhead Stranraer and Stenhousemuir against Albion Rovers. And League 2, Annan Athletic Cowdenbeath, Arbroath Montrose, Clyde Stirling Albion, Edinburgh City against Elgin and Forfar against Berwick Rangers. So that's what we've got on offer for you this afternoon. The lower leagues with a chance to shine. If there are goals anywhere there, we will bring them to you. We'll also discuss Scotland in greater detail. You can give us your thoughts on who you would play as a striker. We've offered you 4 options. There might be a 5th option in there, but they don't give you that facility on social media just yet. But we've given you 4 of the strongest options for the strikers role for Scotland. Who would you pick? Beg your pardon. You can go on at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and offer us your thoughts on that, and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy will read out your messages throughout the afternoon as well. And we will also look at the Scotland group, because 8 out of the second place finishes will all battle it out as well. And I think that's the other aspect of this that we haven't really contemplated, because we're on a game-by-game basis, is the fact that it's the 8 strongest second-place finishes.
Yeah, and I think even already when you have got 4 points in a group and looking at the second-place teams in other groups, and crucially that you've played the weakest team in the group, and crucially you've played the second weakest team at home in the group.
That's true.
You're really in the hole, I think. To give people understanding of how difficult it is for us now, I'm sounding like the ever Niam Joy here, is that the first place, I think, in any reasonable circumstance, everybody's saying that's just not on. You just can't do it. England don't lose. They don't lose qualifying matches, and we would require England to lose at least 2. One of them probably to us, and we might even have to for us to top the group, beat them 4-0 at Hampden, because it comes immediately. The first thing it does is it comes down to a head-to-head.
That's right.
But anyway, so I think it's reasonable to assume we're not going to top the group. Then we're going to look at where we're playing second, and finishing second in the group. Looking at the other Gordon's got the information that's always at his fingertips here. It's a huge task. It really is. I think it's not an impossible task, because arithmetically it's possible. I just think it's completely unrealistic.
Yeah, you're right, Hugh. You're spot on, because there's 3 options. I mean, one is we need to start winning games in order to get ourselves in a qualifying position into second place, which I think is the best we're going to do. Then it depends. That's going to be the points. Then it depends on who you actually get in that one of these playoff games. You know what I mean? It's like the quality of the teams at this level are going to be very difficult. No matter who we end up with, it will be like something like Portugal or Holland or something like that. So it's a big task for Scotland to actually qualify for this tournament, and that's why it's not like the European Championships, you know.
But the biggest strength we had when we were sort of a reasonable was we didn't lose goals.
Yeah.
We were organised. We were very difficult to break down. Now, in this 4 games we've played, we've lost 8 goals. Yeah. We haven't had a clean sheet in 7 games. That means you're going into games knowing you're going to lose a goal at some time. And in this league, although everybody doesn't score that many goals, if you know you're going to lose 1, you're up against it right away, basically because you're not scoring 2.
I mean, we lose goals to teams like Georgia and Malta and Gibraltar. We lose goals to Gibraltar. Yeah. So it's reasonable to expect tomorrow that we have to score 2 against Slovenia to get a result. Then you start saying, well, as a punter, say you were a professional punter, you would say, well, the reasonable expectation is we need 2 goals, because the reasonable expectation is we always lose one. Where are we going to get the 2 goals from?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're conducting a poll at the moment on Twitter, and 76% for Lee Griffiths, closely followed by Stephen Naismith on 16%, and then Stephen Fletcher on 8%. Our other option was Chris Martin, who doesn't have any percent yet. Yeah. And I didn't put in Jordan Rhodes because... Quite simply,
he won't play him. He's not an option.
I hate to be dismissive of Jordan Rhodes, whose striking prowess is there for all to see. But
it'd be fifth choice of those ones you've mentioned.
Do you think Gordon's leaving his cell open? Like after the Canadian game, if we've learned anything out of this game, it says the guys that haven't played regular football aren't up to speed. Now, if he then picks this side tomorrow night and plays 2 or 3 players who aren't playing first team football, he's going to get absolute. I mean, he's going to get pelted. He's going to get flared. So, but to go down that road, and why not? That's why I think he's going to judge the players and the week that he's got them together, when they train and what they're doing, whenever they're training, and anybody that looks a wee bit sharper than the other one, he's going to get the shout.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say to you guys, at Forfar Berwick 1, Pat Scullion's got the goal there. That's the first of the afternoon, and let's hope we get a few more to tell you about throughout the afternoon. 10 internationals, Slovenia, and they've only conceded 5 goals. So they're tight at the back. They've got experience at the back. They've got a physical presence there. They've got a few players that obviously... I mean, I think one of them, Bostian Cesar, has 96 caps when he walks out onto the field at Hampden. That'll be his 96th. They've got solidity at the back. We've got to somehow work out to get service to someone. I mean, I thought Chris Martin's first touch in midweek was atrocious. And does he need somebody to hold the ball up, or do we need somebody who plays off the shoulder, which is a Lee Griffiths?
Yeah.
I agree. If it was me, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if you've even looked at considering the team yet. I would play Naismith, but I'd play him in a wide position of a 3. I'd play a front 3. I'd play Forrest, Griffiths and Naismith. And in the midfield, I would only have one sitting player, would be Brown, and I would play Snodgrass and Armstrong alongside and let them be the ones that go and support the front. Because I think you've got then goal-scoring potential through that front 5, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And because Naismith can get goals coming in from the wide. He's played there before. Griffiths works well, he's a threat, but you get 2 players in Snodgrass and Armstrong there, I think, who are very capable.
I know we've actually put this up as a probable lineup. Your potential lineup there, Gordon, I think is overly adventurous to say the least, on the basis that I don't think Gordon would go for that. I think there's an element
I've got with Gordon's thing is that, you know, it all depends what the question is. I think that's a really valid side, but if the question is what side is going to be picked tomorrow, you know fine well Gordon's not going to go for that.
But he should. It's his last game.
I forgot to tell you, I gave Gordon a loan of my trumpet last night before I got it back in the morning.
You missed that, by the way, Gordon. Ruffy obviously went to bed positive and then woke up with a trumpet in the morning to attack.
Right.
I'm glad I had to clarify that for you.
There's a few goals going in. Wraith Rovers are 1-0 up. Livingston are 2-0 up against Airdrie. Peterhead are 1-0 up with Stranraer. And Livingston are 2-0 up now, Livingston.
Yeah, and Peterhead's goal has come from
Rory McAllister.
There you are.
Had to be.
And then you're going to tell me that in some kind of deja vu, you're going to say one of the goals of Livingston has been scored by Liam Buchanan. Have you spoken to Liam Buchanan yet?
I don't want to rush you. I don't want to rush you these
because
things.
That's them.
What's Rory McAllister doing tomorrow? Is he busy tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, wouldn't it be a great discussion if we could sit and have a discussion about all the players that score goals and never went on? I was very interested. I was talking to Stephen Whittaker on the 10th anniversary of the League Cup final, and we were talking about best players that he would strike a ball, and he was talking about Lubo, how good Moravchik was at striking a ball.
Who's this you're talking about?
Stephen Whittaker,
yes.
now Norwich, ex-Hibson Rangers, as you know, and we're talking about the League Cup final he played in, Peter, 10 years ago against Kilmarnock, and it was an interview on the back of that, and I was saying to him about that group that came through with him: Scott Brown, Kevin Thompson, Stephen Fletcher, himself, Riordan, Gary O'Connor, and he was telling me that Riordan, he says, I played in the EPL, played in the Championship, played international football and that. He said, one of the purest, best strikers the ball ever saw, Derek Riordan.
Well,
Definitely.
And he's playing. He'll probably be playing today for
Edinburgh City.
yeah.
And that's, I mean, I don't mean to harp on about it because there's probably 1,000,001 people have mentioned it before. It's probably a sad indictment of, a talent not really fulfilled.
Been a lot of examples of that.
Peter,
A lot of examples. Because I've always made the point over a long length of time, its ability is not the key factor in terms of who becomes a top player. It's the ability allied to their mentality, their aptitude, their attitude. All these things are crucial. And if you don't get that in the player, it wouldn't matter how good he is, he's not going to make it.
I know. I always laugh laugh with Riley when I hear people saying that, he'd have been a top player if his attitude was right. And I said, I'd been a top player if my ability was right.
Aye.
I mean, it's that important.
Yes,
the only thing that stopped me from being an international footballer was he good enough technically. I was rotten, but I had the attitude.
It's just a minor technicality.
But that's what I'm saying. It's as if they put out the attitude's a minor technicality. Well, the attitude is complete. You look at even these guys who all played, they were the best player in their primary school. It's Stephen Naismith, Whittaker, Ryan. They're the best player in their primary school. Then they go to secondary school and they're the best player there. Then they've got to be the best player in the county.
Yeah.
Then they've got to be the best player in their team. Then they've got to move all the time.
Well, with all due respect, I think that the biggest summing up of Derek Riordan's career and maybe, why we look at some of the players that we have at our disposal at the moment. Neil Lennon mentioned, when he was at Celtic as a player as well, when Riordan was there, he could be out of the game for 89 minutes. I mean, he said to me, 89 minutes you would be constantly coaching him, constantly trying to get him to increase his work rate. His contribution may have been zero, and he says, and then for 1 minute he would pick the ball up and curl it into the roof of the net. But that's not enough. It's not enough at a certain level, and that's why. And it goes back to what Gordon Strachan's looking for. Gordon Strachan is looking for high intensity. He's looking for players who can graft. But unfortunately, along the way, I don't think we have enough of the technical genius that can change the game for us, that can keep it solid at the back.
I know what you're saying. That the problem we've got is at the back, I think. I really do feel that. We've got, as I say, I think I've named a front five for us, really, who I think would be very strong, and I'd say, Forrest is in good form just now. He's quick, he can take people on. You've got Griffiths can score goals. Naismith's very experienced, he's played at a higher level. You've got Armstrong, who's the form player, hasn't played for Scotland yet, but I think he has to come in tomorrow night. And you've got Snodgrass, who's just had a big move, and he's very highly rated down in England. So you're looking at them and saying, well, with Scott Brown being a sitting player there, surely Gordon Strachan has to play an attacking team tomorrow night. I don't go along with this we're playing it tight. I know you got to give respect to Slovenia, they've got good players, but Gordon Strachan needs a result tomorrow night. It's a must win.
I cannot wait. If he would actually surprise me if we had as forward, I think, the team as you've suggested, Gordon. I don't see that happening. I think there will be a slight err on the side of caution to start with, and hope that if he does pick one person out of it.
That's why we are where we are. The formation he's been picking isn't working. It never worked against Lithuania, it never worked against Slovakia, it never worked against. So he's got to come up with something else.
But I think the only surprise he's going to deliver tomorrow night, for me, tell me if I'm wrong, the only surprise he will deliver is the striker. There will be a surprise in the striker. I think if Lee Griffiths starts, people will go, they'll raise an eyebrow and think, okay, there's a positive message. If he to do,
but Armstrong will be in the team, Peter.
Armstrong will be,
and Snodgrass and Brown.
Yes. But as I suggested to Hugh, we're dropping the Scotland captain. You're not picking Darren Fletcher.
I wouldn't. I think he does a great job, but I think this game is not for him.
I think he's talked up Morrison enough. I think he's talked up Morrison of West Brom, being in the top half of the league. He's playing every week. He's playing out his skin. I think he'll be in there. Somebody's going to get sacrificed in that midfield.
Yeah, well, what he might do is, that was another option I thought he might do, would be saying Brown, Morrison and Armstrong as a central three, and maybe move then Snodgrass to the left side. So he's got Forrest, a striker, it'll probably be Martin, as you mentioned, but Snodgrass becomes the wide player in that three. You know what I mean? That's what I think he might do that, but I wouldn't, as I say, I would play.
So you're sacrificing Richie or Forrest?
I've Richie ready to bring on at some stage. I'd play Forrest before Richie at the moment.
I think Forrest is as much as it can be. I think Forrest will be a certain starter because he needs pace, and I think in the Scotland team we're not a team that's full of pace, and no matter who we pick, even Richie, who's another wide man, is actually the real pacey guy to pick would of course would be Ollie Buck. He's the real pace, but or Fraser of Bournemouth, but they're just not going to get a shout.
Yeah. I don't think Buck's ready yet, to be honest with you.
Near that, and
saying that.
And I think
ready.
I think most reasonable observers will say that. And I think what was happening to Buck, people are shouting and bawling about, but he went to Germany, and look at him in Germany. It's not worked out for him. He's about 12, and he's went to the team that's second in the Bundesliga.
They bought his potential.
They bought him, exactly.
There's been a goal at in Morton, down 1-0 to Dunfermline.
Well, there is a wee surprise. We'll be going to Capello just shortly. Let's head over to Easter Road to get an early assessment of what's happening between Hibs and Falkirk. Des McKeown.
17 minutes gone, Peter, and it is goalless here at Easter Road. Plenty of action on the pitch, some tousy tackles. Tom Taiwo has just been booked for upending Andrew Shinnie. Luke Leahy went very close with a drive after about 5 minutes, just over the bar. But Martin Boyle causing all sorts of problems down the right-hand side for Hibs. And as we speak, 16 minutes gone, goalless at Easter Road.
Okay, still the sunshine there for Des, hoping for a goal. Few tackles coming in, and just talking of tackles, I think all our thoughts are with Seamus Coleman after that tackle from Neil Taylor last night. I thought that was... I looked at the referee and he was right on the spot with it. He got a red card immediately, and Coleman looks as if he's got a lengthy time in the sidelines.
I haven't seen it yet, Peter, but I heard the talk about it. They were saying it was a horrendous tackle, so I must have a look at that. Was it a bad one, was it?
Yeah, really bad one. Bad leg break, and it's one of those ones when you know your teammate covers your eyes, that's him trying to take you away from the shock.
The team is covers it and giving him a cuddle. I think the most important thing about that tackle is that when people now, and it's a terrible thing amongst the professionals who've just stopped playing, start going, oh, he got the ball, or oh, he just slid in and he didn't get in, he didn't get the ball on the man. And they say all this as if this has got any relevance at all. What people have got to realise now, these guys are, and have always been, but they're really fit guys, and if you're going in recklessly, you have more than the potential to destroy the career of another human being.
Yeah.
You have that potential. And so it doesn't matter if you get the ball. It doesn't matter if, for example, the Kenny Miller incident against Celtic was dreadful. 2 feet off the ground and going towards a player. He goes into thin air and goes in, and everybody says, well, what's that?
Right.
What that is that shouldn't be allowed. You say to them, do you know what? You don't do that. No. You're not allowed to do that.
Let's go to, we'll come back to that topic shortly. Let's go to Capello to hear about that goal from Kevin Harper.
Here at Capello, Peter, it's Morton 0, Dunfermline 1. It's a poor goal for Morton to lose. Corner from Higginbottom from the right. Gaston goes up to collect it. The goalkeeper for Morton goes to collect it, but drops it. Nicky Clark sweeps it back in, and there's Nat Weatherburn 2 yards out just to tap it into the back of the net. Centre of the goals. Here at Capello, it's Morton 0, Dunfermline 1.
I've got to ask you, Kevin, is that against the run of play, that goal?
No, it's probably been an even game, Peter, to be honest. It's been a bit itchy-peachy. No team's settled as they should be. Morton have been a bit sluggish, to be honest. But over the piece, probably don't think any team really deserves to be 1-0 down at this point, but it was a fortunate goal for Dunfermline.
Okay, we'll be back with Kevin at Capello. If there are any further goals there, no goals at Easter Road either in that other top of the table clash that we're keeping an eye on, Hibs against Falkirk. Yeah, and interestingly enough, just on the back of that, there's a goal. Peterhead 1, Stranraer 1. Craig Malcolm with the equaliser in that match after Rory McAllister had given Jim McInally's side the lead. You were talking there about Stephen Whittaker, talking about the hardest shot that Derek Riordan had. One of the hardest shots I remember in a cup final had to be one of your old teammates on a day the other day there when it was commemorating 22 years since Davy Cooper passed away. Yeah. I can still see the shot against Aberdeen going into the back of the net, and I think Jim Layton said to him, I nearly caught it, and he said yes on the way back.
He could be a great striker of the ball, but that he was a real talent. Of all the players I played with, David Cooper was the most talented, without doubt. He just had a tremendous ability. The big problem with, and Scottish football was a problem to a degree, was that in Scotland, if you were skillful but not a tackler, you were a winger. You get stuck in the wing, whereas in European sense, David Cooper would have been a number 10.
Yeah.
He would have been a playmaker, wouldn't he? You know what I mean? And he's a guy that could have controlled games from a central position, but not in Scotland. You get stuck out wide, you know, and it was a shame because a lot of times if the team wasn't getting the game, weren't feeding him, he big long spells. I mean, wingers got criticised for that. You know, he was never in the game. A lot of times because
the ball.
Exactly, you depend on other people, Hugh. You know, but Coop would have been an ideal playmaker, and Motherwell to a degree played him more often there than ever got the chance to do that at Rangers, I think.
Yeah, and Brecon won, East 5-0. Kevin Watt with a goal. Ian Flanagan has given Alloa the lead by 1-0 over Queen's Park. So as the goals hit the back of the net, we'll keep you right up to date with them as well. Of course, this week we're talking about it, 22 years has flashed past. 39 Coop was when he sadly lost his life, and of course it's hard to believe. I was looking at you yesterday, Hugh. Johan Cruyff, a year has passed and a day since the great Dutch master passed away.
It astonished me because I remember the actual day it happened, and I remember being asked to if I wanted to write a big piece, and I said, of course I want to write a piece, because they said, well, we're going to do an obituary which will have all his details, his goals, his medals. Just write a piece on his his influence. And I said, well, here's the thing I think if you take in the Bartner scored at Ayr, which is a huge goal, I think if you take in everything, there has not been one man that had influenced football as much as him in so many areas, because not only was he one of the greatest players in the world, but he was also a fantastic manager in template, which you could say the exact same for perhaps Franz Beckenbauer, who, you know, was a great player and won a World Cup and also managed a team that won a World Cup. But where Cruyff was his deep lasting influence on how the game is played. There's no, his personality was so strong that things that are going on that are actually going on at Barcelona at the moment, you can trace it completely back to
I think they do give him credit, don't they?
They give him great and proper credit.
Yeah. Does it's Thompson has scored that goal for Dumbarton. Ayr 0, Dumbarton 1. So it's a huge goal there for Dumbarton. I was going to say to you, does Cruyff make it into the top 5 greatest players of all time?
For me, he does.
Yeah?
For me, he does. And I think the only, you know, every great player you would have they've got to become absolutely complete. It's not saying about a great player because, you know, he was good at this and he was good. You could look at Cruyff and you could have said, you know what, he wouldn't be a bad centre-half. You know, I could play him sweeper, or I could play him as an attacking wing back, or I could play him. Ronaldo going 2-1 up and equaliser Queen of the South at Kirkcaldy.
They've equalised. But the thing about it, you're absolutely right that what happened was in those days.
You're like too sweetie right there. Oh yeah, they've equalised.
What happened was the Dutch were the first to do this total football thing, whereas it was so clever, and I don't know why we never really followed up on it. Where they actually let players as kids play different positions, so that they got used to knowing what it was like to play in all different positions, and then you could actually then pick the player. You maybe started them off in a certain position, whereas we always had a tendency here to stay, like pick somebody and put them in a certain position,
and that was
from the very start, and that was your position. But I'll tell you a great story. Wim Jansen, I was talking to him once when he was a Celtic manager, and I was saying to him, just chatting away, and I said one of my favourite players was somebody he played with, Johan Cruyff, and he told me a story. He said, he goes, "Oh, Johan," he said, "it was unbelievable." He says, who was it, the great Dutch manager?
Rinus Michels.
He says Rinus Michels used to work about 3 days on the tactics for a match. He says about 10 minutes into an international match, and Johan would change everything on the field. And I went, honestly, and he went, I suppose Michels saying, he went, Johan knows what he's doing. You know, he said he was on the part, and Cruyff would just see that this isn't working. They're giving us a problem here. So rather than waiting for the match, he did it on the part. So that was a sign. And that's what Wim Jansen said. It was a sign early on that he was a coach in the making, because he could change the system. He was captain of the team, but he could change it while they're playing.
And he's a great ability just to be, because he was the best and he was so best, he carried the aura about him, but he had great sayings like, there's a book called Hard Grass. It's a magazine, a Dutch football magazine, and they were obviously besotted by Cruyff, and they used to carry big interviews with him all the time. Clyde won up at Stirling. That's a great start for Clyde. But the interviews said to him, Cruyff had made this very arcane point about tactics, and the interviewer said to him, "You don't understand that, Mr. Cruyff." He says, "If I wanted you to understand it, I would have explained it better." It's a marvellous, just complete, utter put down, you know. And that was Johan. I just think, see with great players, Peter, like, I'll just I watched the other night, it was on the TV, it was a clip for something of the Cruyff tournament. I don't even know what it was for. It was just a clip of the Cruyff tournament. You just look at that, and it brought back all those days as a young man and a kid watching Cruyff. And you would sit down with these players and you would just be saying to yourself, I can't take my eyes off you. Do something. You're going to do something today that's going to make it worth my while sitting in here on a sunny day instead of going out playing myself. You're going to do something. I'm going to go out with my mates and say, "Did you see what he did there?" And that's what Cruyff could do.
It was marvellous.
Yep, absolutely. And I think his legacy lives on at Barcelona, and possibly there's an argument for Ajax as well. We are going to hear from Gordon Strachan. He's been speaking today at the press conference. We'll get that to you a little later in the programme. We'll get his thoughts from the press conference today ahead of tomorrow's game. Quite unusual to actually have the press conference on a Saturday, but maybe knowing full well the assembled members of the press are elsewhere, it takes away a little bit of the pressure on this one. It's just a simple case of talking about the game, not too much hassle, focusing on what the players have to do. Give us your thoughts on it. There's quite a few people texting us, of course, on Twitter as well. We've got more than a few. David says, "I don't think we'll qualify. Wednesday's result poor. Scotland can forget it. We're just not good enough." I think there's a few people who obviously have that feeling about it. Mark Beveridge, we're talking about great players, is Cruyff in the top 5. Mark has Maradona, Pele, Messi, Cruyff and Ronaldo. Now, I wonder what Ronaldo...
I would agree with that, and I would probably...
What Ronaldo
probably would go for the Brazilian one.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think it's a great shout. I mean, the great thing about that is we're going to argue, etc.
Well, we argue anyway.
We'll argue that. But it's so good that every one of them in his 5 is not. You couldn't argue against it. You might say, well, my next choice is better, but that's a smashing 5.
I wonder if Marks are in order.
I don't know, but ask him. See if he'll come back with.
I don't want a really a one-to-one with him. That becomes that's a video call, Gordon.
No, tell him to message and watch Ronaldo is though.
Yeah,
it might be the current Ronaldo, the Portuguese one, but I think for me, having seen the footage of him, I think definitely the Brazilian one just goes ahead.
Where does George Best fit in all this?
He's probably top 10. George Best.
Not ahead of Cruyff?
No.
Do you think he's ahead of Cruyff?
Well, I don't know.
Ruffy, if it's your opinion, if you think he's ahead of Cruyff...
Well, you played against both, didn't you?
No, I don't think. I think I just missed George. Oh, I had George Best at Hibs, but I never. No, in the international scene, he was just finishing.
Yeah, and my only disappointment with Johan Cruyff, if it could be a disappointment, if you could construe it, is that
the final of the World Cup.
Is that he? Well, that's another one. That's another great thing. Is that he never played in the 78 World Cup. I wish he'd gone there to play in that side. Sometimes one player can make that difference.
I mean, you've got to remember that final where everything was levelled against him, waged against him, playing against a good Argentina team where a full house against him. There were a Robbie Rensenbrink post here at the post.
Yeah.
They were that away from winning it.
Yeah.
There was so much going on behind that, for him to go. It was a typical Cruyff thing. He just fell out of everybody. Yeah. He just wouldn't go. He was very stubborn, wasn't he?
I think so. Yeah, he just said he wasn't doing it. But I think the biggest disappointment was that Dutch team, Peter, were very big favourites for the 74 World Cup. Although Germany had a great team too, the Dutch were regarded as the favourites for that. You know, I think so, Ruffy. That Dutch team. That was a disappointing final for them.
The Dutch national team were way ahead of everybody else. Even when we played them in '78, we were stuck away in a a hovel somewhere, and then when we went to play Holland, where they were staying, they had their whole families with them. You know, their kids and all their wives.
You tanked them anyway.
You beat them.
I know.
Absolutely. I mean, Ruffy,
just
honestly,
one of the games.
You're talking about a nation that really, I think we get the wrong end of the stick. You know, you beat them.
Yeah.
Well, see, as an addendum to all that, when we were talking there about pure strikers of the ball and all that, purest striker, the hardest striker.
I'll tell you who. I'll give you who it was. I just caught him at the end of his career, and we did a shooting at Hampden, and the hardest shot I ever faced was Peter Lorre.
Everybody says that.
Unbelievable.
Was it?
With a dead ball. Just fantastic.
I think it was measured at over 100 miles an hour at one point. You know,
I played with a lad who had a fantastic shot like that as well, Jimmy Case.
Yes.
Used to be at Liverpool.
Yeah.
He was
and the great thing about Jimmy Gordon was not only did he hit the ball through, he usually put the man with the ball.
Sitting on it.
Jimmy could. There was a lot of people who were a bit afraid of playing against Jimmy. Let me tell you, Jimmy was in those days when you just could get away with things like, and Jimmy sorted. You just sort people out. You know.
I've had a reply from Mark Beveridge. He wants 2 sugars in his tea. Gordon,
Right.
get that right. He says it's all in order, Peter. The Brazilian Ronaldo.
Oh, he says the same.
So
right.
Maradona, Pele, Messi, Cruyff, and Ronaldo.
Yeah, well, I agree with
his top. You agree with that? 5?
I agree with those 5
in that order.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Ruffy, do you agree with that in that order? You need to have.
No, there's other people out there. I would put Eusebio in front of him. I would have Franz Beckenbauer up there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's hard. I know. But I would probably say in terms of ability, natural ability, I think Messi is first, and then Maradona. I think I'd put Messi first of that group.
Yeah, okay. Listen, Tommy's sent us a tweet as well. Lots of people tweeting us at Peter and Ruffy. Give us your thoughts on who should play up front for Scotland, win or bust. Are we busted flush already, as Hugh MacDonald has mentioned? Does it really matter about Slovenia tomorrow? We're gone anyway. Or indeed, can you see this being the kickstart that Russell Martin has suggested to our campaign, with England on the horizon at Wembley as well? Tommy says we must be positive tomorrow. Nothing to lose. Griffiths, Armstrong, Forrest, Brown, which is a suggestion from Tommy that they are all back in the side. You might want to give us your thoughts on, of course, the top 5 players ever in the world. Who do you think it should be? Mark Beveridge has offered his suggestion. This is off the back of, sadly, a year and a day since Johan Cruyff passed away at the age of 68. Way too young as well, 68 years of age. OK, let's go back to Easter Road, because we were hoping that this was going to be a cracker for Des. Hibs against Falkirk. How's it going?
33 minutes gone, Peter, and it's still goalless. The game is ebbing and flowing from both ends. Very distinct, different styles. Hibernian getting it down, knocking it wide. Martin Boyle on one side, Andy Shinnie on the other side. Falkirk certainly more direct, trying to catch Hibs on the counter-attack, with John Baird and Bob McHugh going long into the channels. Not too many more chances. There was a bit of Stramash a couple of minutes ago. Grant Holt making a nuisance himself and then misfiring just wide of the post. Interestingly, Anthony Stokes is watching his former Hibs teammates here. It's somebody like him that they could be doing with up front today, just to get on to some of the end of one of these crosses from Martin Boyle. But with just 10 minutes to go to half-time, still goalless in Leith.
Yeah, and do you think, Des, they're missing John McGinn? Is there a spark there that he could provide in the middle of the park?
Yeah, I definitely do, Peter. I think that with Marvin Bartley and Dylan McGeoch in the middle of the pitch there, I think the drive that John McGinn gives Hibs is missing at this stage. Dylan McGeoch, very technically gifted, great on the ball, pirouetting out, finding space, making little passes. But in terms of getting in touch with Grant Holt and Jason Cummins, I think they're definitely missing John McGinn.
OK, we'll be back to Des. I love that live action feel with Des just having a quick look over his shoulder there. That's the professionalism of the man.
He's just keeping his eye on his pie, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't really, which is real professionalism. Yeah. That's what you learn very quickly. And as a man that's been in this game 46 years, always keep an eye on your pie.
Yeah, and I'll tell you right now that the great thing about watching Des operate there is
Can you imagine Des with a pie as well?
No chance.
I know.
He's
He doesn't even know what it looks like.
He ran 22 miles this morning. I kid you not, before he actually went to Easter Road. But I was just looking at him there, his professionalism of looking at what's happening in the ground and then looking back to the camera. Ruffy, in the early days of us actually going out to the grounds, Ruffy, the immediate thing for him was, how can I kick the power off and kick the camera over and make sure that the whole thing falls apart before we actually go on air.
That was my highlight. My highlight was at Parkhead when I put every radio station off air for 2 minutes.
That's a good. I always remember the photo.
I casually saw the switch and sort of went down.
Peter was saying that Des ran 22 miles. You know what? I would have been quicker running here from my house than coming by car.
Running 22 miles, yeah, absolutely.
I'm probably going to run here quicker.
And to be fair, by the way, I think the first 20 minutes you weren't here could win a Stony Award. It was just
the best it's been.
It was blistering opinion.
When people come in for STV headquarters with tulips, roses, throwing them at our feet,
it's much better than usual. What's the difference?
The last thing we need is facts. Let's switch our attention to one man who will deliver the facts at Capello, Kevin Harper. What's happening?
Here it's still Morton 0, Dunfermline 1, Peter. Nothing much has changed since you were last with me. You know, both teams are huffing and puffing, but not really getting anywhere. Really disappointed with Morton so far. They've been lethargic, devoid of ideas, have not been on the front foot at all, whereas Dunfermline have just sat in and trying to hit them in the counter-attack. But here at Capello, it's still Morton 0, Dunfermline 1.
And with that in mind, Jim Duffy, usually, any time I'm at Capello, Kevin, he's usually out at the touchline gesticulating and shouting and constantly just barracking his players if they're not doing what he says. Yeah,
typical Jim Duffy. I had the wrath from him a few times when he was in my Hibs days, but, I think he's trying to get his team going. It's very, very bitty from them, Peter. There's lots of getting misplaced passes. In the final third, they're not really doing anything. Whereas Dunfermline are sitting in tight, but trying to just play a bit of a long ball game to try and turn Morton. But Alan Johnson will be happy. No keeper's made a save. Although Dunfermline are 1 up. They've not created much. Morton haven't created anything really, apart from the slip from the Morton keeper. Should probably still be 0-0.
Okay, we'll be back to Kevin for his half-time report, which will probably just sum up that one mistake. But Kev, out there at Capello for us for Morton against Dunfermline and Des McKeown at the other key game in the Championship, which is, of course, Hibs against Falkirk. Could have done with John McGinn in the middle for that one. Give us your thoughts on all things Scotland. We are going to hear from Gordon Strachan in the second half of the programme, once it kicks off in the second half, because Gordon Strachan has actually appeared in front of members of the press at about 2 o'clock. So we'll just quickly give you some of the thoughts of the Scotland manager ahead of the game, the dilemma over picking certain players, the attitude to how they approach this game and whether they go gung-ho. Does it need to be the charge of the Light Brigade early on to get it all going for you, Ruffy?
I think initially we have to get the fans on board. The fans will be apprehensive as well if we start on a negative footing and let them come into the game. I think the fans could turn very, very quickly in the light of what's happened in the previous 4 games. So I think we need a positive start, and I'm quite happy. Just that I always find that when you take the centre of a game, wherever you go determines the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes of a game. If you go across the park and go back the way and then your goalkeeper's got it, I think to me that's a negative approach. I think we should go forward right for the start, put them under pressure and let them know they're a game. I think Hampden, that's the only fault I've got about Hampden. It's not like a Tynecastle. It's not a Rangers, it's not a Celtic. I think foreign teams come here and stroll about because of the big wide open spaces. They're not under any immediate pressure for the fans and they get away with murder. So I think we should actually deliberately, as Gordon says, play as many attacking players as possible. If we're not going to score goals for up front, let's make sure our midfielders are running about the 18-yard box and picking up these wee bits and pieces that are going about.
Yeah, have people who want to score, people who their game, like Snodgrass, Armstrong, Griffiths, they're guys that just love scoring goals. Naismith as well. I mean, Forrest is not that kind of player. He's more of a creator, but we want guys in there who, you know, want to put the ball in the net as well and want to score goals and get as far up the park. They don't want to be sitting in passing the ball about midfield, Peter, you know.
Yeah, and of course we can talk it up as much as we want, but you know, I mentioned the fact that Slovenia are solid. You know, they don't give goals away easily, so that's another thing that's going to affect the mood of the crowd, and a crowd that's not going to be full to capacity. This stadium will not be a sellout, Hugh McDonald.
Well, that's an interesting point. See, I think that's probably the most significant point going forward. I think the big danger to Scotland at the moment, the huge danger to Scotland, is that we've gone so far and so long without any kind of success or qualification that the national team in many ways might almost be an irrelevance, might be certainly. I think it's certainly to a lot of people in the west of Scotland, a lot of supporters in the west of Scotland, they just shrug their shoulders. I mean, they don't care. I mean, I'm amazed by the amount of people that I talk to. Just go, you know, how people say, the Tartan Anvil having a big sigh at drawing one each with Hibs. The truth is, a lot of people just be shrugging their shoulders.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to them. That's a danger, I think,
you're right, Hugh, and I think Wednesday night was a good example of it as well, that the crowd that turned up for a game like that, you know, it's what we say, an international match, not in Glasgow. It gives an opportunity for people from other parts of the country to go along. They gave away a lot of tickets, Peter. My understanding is the majority of the people that were there on Wednesday night were even on like complimentary tickets, and the crowd was very poor.
You have to say, was it £22 for a ticket for a friendly game?
But Hugh's right. See this game. This is a crucial World Cup tie. Normally Hampden would have been full for a game like that.
Does anybody? We know we're in the game and we're wandering about, and people say, "When's the last time somebody said to you, you get any tickets for the Scotland game?"
I know.
Any game.
Yeah,
I think it was
Scotland, Italy.
Yeah.
It might well have been that situation.
Yeah, the qualifying game, that last game,
which the demand was incredible. You know, listen, you could pin it down to 1,000,001 things, you know, all the way back to, and this might sound slightly controversial. We've all, yeah, absolutely, we always like to have an argument with you. We can all look at the technical ability and the lack of people coming through. We've lost 2 or 3 generations of young Scottish footballers who never got a game. And may I add, in a league that was filled with greedy chairmen.
Yeah.
The Premier League since 1998, in its different formats, has all been filled with greedy chairmen, with TV deals, and with foreigners coming into the game and stifling the chances of young Scottish talent. You know, I can remember Derek McInnes couldn't even get a game for Rangers.
No.
I can remember, you know, guys like Gary McSwegan shipped out. Income Hearts players were, you know, signing. I always remember as in Edinburgh, they signed a guy called Hans Eskelsen, who probably wouldn't have got a game for my 5-a-side team. You know, you look at 1,000,001 players that came in, and all with this awash with money, until of course they get so greedy that they ended up playing 2 satellite companies against each other and came a cropper. But you know, there's 1,000,001 other things as well that people are talking about, computers, whatever. But I think our country cannot sustain not having a large pool of players playing, some down south and some good ones in their divisions.
But it's amazing, Peter, how much it's done a complete cycle, because at the beginning of Gordon Strachan's campaign, our team was full of Anglos. We had 11 Anglos. There was no Scottish boys in the team. The championship was talked up so much, and even the players playing in the Premiership was talked up so much. And now we've went full circle where we're going to have 5 Celtic players in the team. You know, what's happened to the talk up of these guys are down there, they're playing a better standard, they're playing it coming against better players, and all of a sudden that's not the theory now.
Interestingly enough, he's got more players, Gordon Strachan's got more players even at the highest level than they were before for the 2 previous managers like Levine and Burley. They didn't have as many players playing Premier League football, Premiership football in England as Gordon Strachan has now.
Well, there'll be 5 or 6, off the top of my head, there's probably 5 or 6 Premiership players in England who he's not picked.
That's true.
He's not even on his squad.
No.
You
Well,
know,
Barsley's a good example.
Adam.
We don't have a right back in the squad, and we've got a player playing in the Premiership and didn't get chosen.
Just out of curiosity, and we're coming to half time, we're keeping you up to date with the goals. 4 for 1, Berwick 1 as well. Livingston 2, Airdrieonians 1. That's half time now at Almond Vale. Edinburgh City are leading Elgin by a goal to nil. I mean, as far as the Scotland situation, I'll get you guys your thoughts on. I mean, maybe we're in a situation down in England where we at the time you're talking about, Ruffy, we did have, at one point only one player who was playing in the regular team, which was Darren Fletcher. I mean, is there a case for a Charlie Adam? I mean, I know that Charlie's miffed that he's not even considered now. Through various conversations that Ruffy and myself have had on that topic, I don't think he fits the Gordon Strachan, that mantra of working hard, don't give away possession too much.
I mean, I wouldn't go to war for Charlie Adam, no. But it's interesting that Gordon came in and has picked up the exact same point as I made earlier when you were telling me. If you haven't got a full-back, you've got to say to yourself, why are we not playing a Premier League full-back? Why am I not even picking him? And the answer is, I don't fancy him, or he's done something wrong, or we've had a fallout with him. But there's a question there.
But I mean, are managers not big enough to pick people they don't like?
They should be.
They should be.
They should be, because if you look at it, Peter, if you were picking your side for this game, Gordon Strachan is not going to be the one that gets any stick for picking for Barsley to play. If he plays and doesn't play well, he'll be the blame, right? But people say Gordon Strachan did the right thing. So regardless of whether he likes him as a person or whatever, you've got to pick a player who's playing in the Premiership in England when you don't have actually a right back in your whole squad.
The great Steen quote, he says, what's the key to management? He says, keeping the 6 guys in the team that hate you away from the 5 that are not sure.
Is that what he said?
Jock Steen.
Which is a great line, and the minute you said that, I automatically thought, I don't think Jose Mourinho managed to do that in Chelsea. Do you?
No.
Okay, it's half time. Hibs, no goals.
That's a great goal.
Ayr United have equalised. Good point, Gordon, because it's El Alagui, a former Hibs player, who's scored the goal there. So it's 1-1 with Dumbarton. Big goal there in that game. That game has got huge implications at the bottom end as well. It could be a miserable day for St Mirren after losing the Challenge Cup.
I think everybody down there knows what's coming up. I think they're just talking about Ayr United and the Dumbarton game. These are the massive games, because I think St Mirren have got a horrendous run after that. I think they're playing against all the top teams, so they need to take stuff out of these games.
Okay, we will continue to talk Scotland. You can give us your thoughts on who you think should play. Give us your 11. Send it to us at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Half-time scores coming up next. Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show, half-time across the country in the lower leagues in Scotland. Let's go to Easter Road. Des McKeown.
Half-time at Easter Road, Peter, and it's Hibernian 0, Falkirk 0. It's been a game of very few chances. It's been tousy right from the off. We've actually got a crime count of 2 bookings apiece, and I would say that the second half, a couple of players under the watchful eye of the referee. We could see a red here before we see a goal. We've got very few chances, as I said. Early on, Luke Leahy flashed a shot from about 20 yards just over Ross Laidlaw's Hibernian goal, the goalkeeper. And then late on in the half, Jason Cummins from about 25 yards flashed a left-footed direct free kick just wide of the post. So at this stage, it's still very much all to play for, but I would suggest that we will be lucky to get both sides finishing the game with 11 men apiece. Andrew Shinney had to go off just before half-time. He's been replaced by James Keatings. Falkirk needing to take all 3 points to have any chance at all of winning this championship title. Half-time at Easter Road. It's Hibs 0, Falkirk 0.
Okay, we'll be back with Des just before the second half gets underway. Let's switch our attention to Capello. And I think we might come back to Kevin Harper in just a minute. Let's quickly give you the half-time scores before we get to Kevin at Capello. Here's how it looks half-time. Just confirming the Hibs 0, Falkirk 0 from Des McKeown. It's Ayr United 1, Dumbarton 1, Morton 0, Dunfermline 1. We'll hear a report on that from Kevin Harper shortly. Wraith Rovers 1, Queen of the South 1. And confirmation of the result from earlier in the Challenge Cup final, Dundee United 2, St Mirren 1. In League 1, Alloa Athletic 1, Queen's Park 1, Brecon City 1, East Fife 0, Livingston 2, Airdrie 1, Peterhead 1, Stranraer 2, Stenhousemuir 0, Albion Rovers 0. And in League 2, Annan Athletic 0, Cowdenbeath 0, Arbroath 0, Montrose 0, Clyde 1, Stirling Albion 0, Edinburgh City 1, Elgin City 0, and Forfar 1, Berwick Rangers 1. OK, that's the half-time scores. Let's get that report from Capello. Kevin Harper.
Here at Capello, Peter, it's Morton 0, Dunfermline 1. The story of the first half was the Dunfermline goal. Higginbottom takes the corner from the right-hand side. Gaston, the goalkeeper for Morton, goes up to collect it, drops it. Mickey Clark hooks it back in, and there's Nat Wedderburn 2 yards out to tap it into the back of the net. Other than that, not much has happened. Summed up by Ross Forbes, who's probably been Morton's most attacking player, getting booked for diving, trying to win a penalty. But the Morton front three of Nisbet, Oliver and Shanklin have to do more in the game. Not been in it at all. The ball's going up to the top and it's breaking down. But for Alan Johnson and his Dunfermline team, they must be sitting in that changing room absolutely delighted. Haven't played the best, but Morton haven't caused them any problems whatsoever.
OK, so as I thought Kevin might highlight, that mistake seems to be the difference between the two sides. We'll come back to Kevin for a quick update just before the second half gets underway. And of course, any goals from Easter Road or indeed Capello, we'll be all over it for you, including all the goals from all the other divisions as well. More Scotland chat coming up after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Mark Beveridge has got a lot to answer for. He started a full-scale argument, and we're arguing. Well, it's a great argument. We're arguing over who. Never mind who plays for Scotland. We're arguing who's in a World 11 or even a Scottish 11. We had some great programmes on STV last summer for that.
Wasn't it? It was brilliant, great chat. There's nothing but, I mean, see, because there's some absurd arguments you can make. I noticed one the other week there, which kicked us off. There was a guy who actually was, I admire as a Celtic historian, actually picked a Celtic all-time 11, which included Scott Brown, but didn't include Kenny Dalglish. So, no, you would think, but I mean, but there are things like, but general arguments like, the great argument Pele Maradona, for example, that's just a great argument. I mean, you're not going to convince anybody. You're not going to, but it's good to have the discussion about great players, I think.
Yeah, I always think sometimes there's a counter argument. We're obsessed by facts, stats. I mean, if Gordon Strachan could actually pull out stats and say, well, I'm picking this striker because he scores bang, 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 it'd be fine. But we are at times obsessed by stats. But sometimes when you're looking at world players, do you look at the stats? Do they have to have a World Cup winners' medal in their tail before you consider them a great?
I know. Well, it's like George Best, Peter. He never got to finals in his whole career because his teammates for Northern Ireland weren't good enough. I mean, Best was the main player for Northern Ireland. If Northern Ireland did well, it was because of George Best. So they never got to a single final.
I think it counts heavily against Messi.
Yeah,
and the reason I think it concerns Messi because he's been at World Cup finals with good teams, right?
Yeah.
With decent teams.
Better than the Maradona team.
Oh, I think the Maradona team at Mexico. I think honestly, if Maradona had played for most other teams in that tournament, they would have won the competition, including Scotland. Seriously, I think Look at the Scotland team. Look at the Scotland team that year in Mexico. Look at the 11 they had, and add Maradona, and you would say, do you know what? They're not a bad side. Seriously.
Look at Ruffy looking right into space there. He's trying to remember 1986.
No, I think you're right. Defensively, they were quite strong. Midfield, they were very strong.
In '86, you've got your Willie Millers, you've got Stevie Nichols, you've got Souness, you've got Nicholas, you've got McAvaney. Dalglish is injured, but if Maradona in the team, Dalglish is coming over.
Yeah.
You'd be all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Des McKeown's come up with the best point. If Ruffy's looking into space, so is Maradona. Let's go to Easter Road before the teams come on. I don't even think he's got a Scottish great granny, Des, to be honest with you. Are there any changes in that lineup?
Nothing at half-time, Peter. Obviously, as I said, James Keating's come on for Andrew Shinney a couple of minutes to half-time, but the teams are now back out. Something's got to give here at Easter Road this afternoon. I think at this stage Neil Lennon would be happy with a point. I'm sure he wants all three. Peter Houston has openly said I think they need to win all 3 points to put any pressure at all on Hibs at the top end of the championship. So it's all to play for. 45 minutes of action in front of us. We're just off and running.
Yeah, I think Des is right there. This is the point now where I think Peter Houston might take a few chances. This one goal for me wins this one.
Absolutely. And the thing about it though, somebody might be feeding back to him the fact that Morton are losing. That's a big factor for Falkirk. Thinking, well, wait a minute, if we go to Easter Road today and get a point, and Morton lose at home to Dunfermline, it's actually a point gained.
Yeah. I mean, who would pick Morton at home in the treble? I mean, it's an act of lunacy. Come on, Morton.
What is the team treble today?
What's the treble?
The team treble today is, here we go.
I'll take Morton, Falkirk.
I've got Hibs.
Alloa. Hibs you've got, sorry.
I've got Hibs.
Hibs,
You've got Morton and Gordon's got Alloa. So we're all drawing and lost. I mean,
yeah, I don't think we can do as bad as we did last week. That's the worst performance ever. All three of us obliterated.
We've never had 3 wrong. No.
We've never had 3 wrong, but it seems easy enough when you started. If you get 5 or 6, suddenly you're on a night out. I'm starting to get slightly worried though, Ruffy. I have to tell you about the Moussa Dembele 40 goals sketch. I think he needs a hat-trick to try and calm the nerves here on our annual bet.
What's he got left?
He's on 32.
9 games?
Well, I did say to someone, and this is this is the great thing about it depends on the type of fan that you speak to. I said to somebody, there's only 8 games left for Dembele to get to 40 goals, and they went, what about the 2 cup games? And I thought, well, what 2 cup games? Automatically, some fans think, well,
Semi-final.
Rangers are out the way, and then there's the cup. There's a small matter of a derby coming up.
He seems to have gone off a little bit of late as well, doesn't he, in terms of his form? I think that happens with all strikers. Strikers are normally, it's a form position. You see them having a great run, then they go a few weeks without, and then
Here's
they come
an
back.
interesting thing then, Gordon. I mean, do we have anyone on a great run who you could potentially pick? I mean, I couldn't look at the 5 players that he's got to choose from and say they've had 3 consecutive games with 3 goals.
I mean, but Scotland, we're arguing here for a moment, and I'm not saying the argument's unreasonable, we're arguing here for a moment to start with a player that can't start for his club side, and when he does start for his club side, doesn't score. Lee Griffiths.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bottom line.
I think Rhodes is only one of them all, that's starting regularly, is he not?
Starting regularly, but he's been he's had it done as well with the Middlesbrough experience, and he missed a penalty the other day as well.
What does it say if he plays Fletcher in front of Rhodes? When it's Rhodes that's keeping him out of the team.
Well, listen, I did mention to you that Gordon Strachan was speaking to the assembled members of the press. I think the first thing he was keen to emphasise was quite simply that, Scotland don't have to win it in the first few minutes of the game. It can be won over the 90. They just have to show a little bit of patience.
And sometimes it's easy for a manager to say, this is what we're going to do. Sometimes you're in a position, well, if we draw, if we win, or we lose, we can still be, it depends on it. Have to win. What you don't have to do is win it in the first 5, 6, 7, 10 minutes. You have to be, you never know in big games when your opportunity comes along. But what we've got to do is make opportunities. And the players that we pick tomorrow will make opportunities for us. And then once we make these opportunities, we don't score these opportunities, we must get back into a shape that allows them very little opportunities.
Now, one of the things I'm going to put to you, Hugh, not because obviously you and I disagree on whether Gordon Strachan should be manager now or not. I've heard some accusations that he doesn't care. He'll just go back to playing golf. He's earned that much money. This won't affect him. I know Gordon. He really hurt.
Listen, you know how my criticism of him and the criticism of the campaign. That is one that cannot be levelled at him in any. If he didn't care, he wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not doing it. I mean, he's getting a good wage and all that. But he's got enough money in the bank to be actually sitting, in some studio tomorrow, earning a very good wage, just summing up the weekend's qualifying matches. Yeah. He doesn't need to do this. He doesn't need to face it. For the great goal for Ayr, by the way, Peter, 2-1 up. But no. I've got no questions whatsoever about his commitment to Scotland or his passion or his. I just think he's the wrong guy. But that's an argument which we've had, and it is for another day. But at the moment, he'll be channeling all his energies, all his experience, all his thoughts, with his staff into getting a result tomorrow. And if we don't get a result, and I don't think we will. It's not going to be any lack of effort on behalf of the management team or any kind of lack of preparation.
Yeah.
I'll have no complaints about that whatsoever.
Yeah. Ayer's goal to put them 2-1 up in that match, scored by Robbie Crawford, and suddenly. At the bottom, you usually get one team that makes a surge, and everybody's been looking at St Mirren, but suddenly Ian McCall is using all his experience, Ruffy, to get something out of his side.
Yeah, I was surprised when they went behind today. I mean, after that good win they had at Dunfermline last week, that would have been a disappointment for them, because we would have thought they'd have kicked on for that. But they have, at this moment in time, and 3 points today is another nail for St Mirren. Obviously we know these games are coming up, but the more points that these teams above St Mirren pick up, it makes it even harder for them.
You're absolutely right. They were on a bad run here. They just couldn't get a win at all, and then they won 2 of the last 3 games. If they win today, that's 3 out of 4. That's a very good run when you're sitting down at the bottom of the league and your team below you is catching you. But they would catch up with Dumbarton if they win this game today. Same points, I think, as Dumbarton if they get the win.
Yeah, absolutely. Still only 2 above St Mirren, so it's all still nip and tuck. I think those key games that we mentioned, St Mirren and Dumbarton, is still to follow. We were talking about Gordon Strachan, apart from the fact that he said the game doesn't need to be won in the first few minutes. He also emphasised the fact that despite the disappointment of that drab performance against Canada, the side that he selects will indeed be ready for this game.
There's no grey areas to it. You know, it's a must-win. And I think sometimes when you've got challenges like that in life, it brings the best out of you. So, as I say, we'll have a team ready for that challenge of must-win tomorrow.
I don't think the players need to be told. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, just quite simply, this is my last speech to you lads before I offer, you know, the long letter to Stuart Regan if it doesn't go according to plan.
Yeah.
Well, look, we all know it's a must-win, but every game should be a must-win, particularly at home. You know, you should be confident in your team when you're playing against the teams we're playing, obviously apart from the Englands and the Germanys and the Italys. They all should be must-wins at Hampden, because your support behind you and the players that you've got, you should, as you said, they are organised enough, the preparation is good enough, the players need to go out and perform. And I just think it's okay saying you don't need to win it in the first 5 minutes. It'd be great if we scored 2 goals in the first 5 minutes, then we could really see a nice sit back and relax and enjoy.
And do you know another thing that I was thinking, Ruffy, and you guys might be able to comment on this, which is something we don't have as far as Scotland's concerned. Usually you can always tell if there's a good side if you can actually rhyme off 9 or 10 of the starting 11. But even our 9 and 10 of the starting 11 does not contain a talisman, somebody can do something out of the ordinary. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, we do. I mean, I look back at 10 years ago, Parc des Princes. You've got James McFadden who can do something out of the ordinary, but you've got a solid backline. You've got a midfield that can work with Ferguson, with Hartley. You know, you've got Darren Fletcher at his peak. You had a team that, you know, there was something about them they could defend. Okay, we didn't make it then either, but at least you had a settled. You knew that 11, there was 1 or 2 that could do something.
Or even take it back just a wee bit long back to the times when we did qualify, when you had the likes of a Collins in midfield, you had a really strong defence where people just knew what they were doing. You know, like Boyd, Calderwood,
Hendry was there.
Yeah. You had Burley, you know. I think a real good player as well.
Champions League winner, Lambert. You know, Gordon Jury, Kevin Gallagher.
I mean, good players.
Stuart McCall.
Okay, you've just put me on a downer again.
I think the player speed. I think guys you maybe think can turn a game for us. I know you're saying do we have anybody like that? I think Snodgrass is capable of doing it. He's capable of turning it on at times and scoring spectacular goals. We've seen him do it. That's why he got his big transfer. And I do think, and I know he hasn't played for Scotland yet, but Armstrong is also somebody that I'm glad if he gets put in tomorrow, because he is a player, I think, more so than some of the ones that have been playing so far, that could just provide that. He could be like, we on a high. We don't know how he's going to perform because he hasn't been international level before. He's never played with these players, most of them.
Alloa 2, Queen's Park 1. Scott Taggart has scored the goal there. Gus McPherson will not be happy with that, I can tell you. Jim Goodwin, the Alloa boss, will be on our programme on Thursday. We'll get a chance to chat to Jim about all things Alloa since he's made the step from player manager to manager, because he's not picking himself these days. I'm sure there will be some times when he has to get up off that bench and still strut his stuff in the middle of the park. But right now, his Alloa side 2-1 up in that game. They'll be on our programme on Thursday. Forfar 2, Berwick 1 is also the latest score. I'm going to go to Easter Road. Maybe a bit of activity coming up.
Sorry,
there.
I think Forfar, Berwick still 1 each.
Well, it's been corrected there. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Gordon. That's what happens in this programme.
Yeah.
No sooner does the old, I call it the Frank Boff teleprinter come up, and then all of a sudden it's been taken off.
Yeah.
Let's go to Easter Road to see what's happening. Des McKeown.
It's all happening in the background, Peter. It's still goalless here, but Hibs starting to assert some pressure. John Baird went very close about 5 minutes ago as another booking. This time it's Lewis Kidd for a challenge on James Keating's. Bob McHugh played through John Baird. He's driving in and goal from about 20 yards. He has a strike at the ball, he just slashes it wide. James Keatings from the wide left hand side puts a delicious ball across the face of the goals. Jason Cummins and one of the defenders come together. Jason Cummins goes down, but Kevin Clancy, to be fair to him, gives a corner kick. Hibs starting to mount some pressure. 10 minutes into the second half, they've got a free kick just down in front of us just now, which James Keatings is going to deliver into the box. We'll keep you updated with any other action. Still goalless at Easter Road.
Okay, so they're starting to pick it up there, and Des did mention that if they stay with 11 players either side on the park, he'll be gobsmacked.
It looks like he couldn't take his eyes off. Either that wee 7-year-old's ran away with his energy bar. But there was something happening there with Des. He was shooting, so obviously a nice feisty game.
Here's who we could do with you in the Scotland side right now.
This is dramatic.
This is fantastic, and he's a guy who hasn't really been doing anything at club level when he was at Man United. Javier Hernandez, Chicharito, has equalled Mexico's all-time goal record, 45 goals in 89 games, which is sensational. I wonder if he's I'm going to check this out. Obviously, I'll need a producer to help me on this one, but I wonder if he's equalled the record. Their record is held by, I'm going to hazard a guess at Hugo Sanchez.
It must be,
yeah.
It must be. And the interesting about Chicharito, of course, is they went to Leverkusen and in the Bundesliga. He's done nothing but score goals. So he actually changed the whole dynamic of the team. Yeah. And to such an extent that you just look at, I mean, nobody's going to argue that Louis van Gaal knows nothing about football, but you just look at him and say, what were you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, just keep the guy on for another, even if you don't fancy him, keep him for a year so everyone beds down. You can bring him on for the bench and he'll get you a goal when you need it.
Absolutely. Let's go to Capello to see if anybody's close to getting a goal there. Kevin Harper.
Capello here, Peter. Still, sorry, just watching there. I had a shot there, but still at Capello, it's Morton 0, Dunfermline 1. Morton came out that second half. They must have had a right rollicking from Jim Duffy and done in the front foot. It's been all on Dunfermline's side, but Dunfermline's half of the pitch. Andy Murdoch's just had a 20-yard shot tipped over the bar by Sean Murdoch, and then Nesbitt's just had a shot there saved by Murdoch. So Morton growing into the game, but still here at Capello, it's Morton 0, Dunfermline 1.
Okay, still that solitary goal. And thank you to our producer, Jared Borghetti. Is the well-known Jared Borghetti is the top goal scorer, now equalled by Chicharito. It's a name I've never heard before. There are not too many famous Mexicans, and I can tell you right now, and you know what I love? Sometimes our producer says it, and he's got such a brilliant voice that makes you feel this size. When he said that, I mean, he played for Bolton. I mean, how could you not know that? I didn't know it. I very rarely watch Bolton, to be honest with you, unless there's absolutely nothing on the telly, and then I might watch them. But they're coming back, I have to suggest to you.
Yeah, they're looking to get promotion back to the Championship. Almost certainly going to do that. Good result the other night for them. So getting back and getting some stability as well, because we always remember that extraordinary debt they had, wasn't it? What was it, 100 and something million?
174, I think, at one point.
174 million, that was like Ruffy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. He just throws one just to see if you're still concentrating, Ruffy. 170 odd million.
Liverpool, Livingston scored. 3-1 up against Airdrie. Airdrie have been going pretty well, but Livingston, they're securing their spot at the top. They've got a 9-point lead at the moment, although Alloa are winning, but I think it looks like Livingston are going to win that division. I think they will.
Well, there you are. There's a pundit who puts his neck right out there in the line. There's no arguing with him on that one. They looked as if they were going to win it in mid-December.
No, mid-September.
Okay, quick update on some of the scores for you coming in. One of them is Livingston 3, Airdrieonians 1, as Gordon just mentioned there. Danny Mullen with the goal. It's Stennismuir 0, Albion Rovers 1. And it's Ross Stewart who scored the goal there for the Rovers. So that's keeping you right up to date with the games. Interestingly enough, as Gordon Strachan was talking to the press about tomorrow's game, he did mention one thing. He had an apology to offer, and I think this is probably where you just actually get the measure of the man, because it takes a great man to apologise when he's wrong or he's done something wrong, or indeed he knows he's made an error. And the Scotland manager apologised to his mum for missing Mother's Day.
I can understand why a lot of people have to go and see their mother. Unfortunately, I'll not be at my mother's house tomorrow, so sorry, Mum, got a job. But the flowers are on the way.
There you are. You never forget your mum. It's as simple as that. Flowers on the way for the wee man. He has a heart. He's not going to be there. And, he's a big family man. Likes to go back through to Edinburgh. Doesn't forget his roots, Ruffy.
No, his roots are in Edinburgh. He likes to get into his old golf club and sit with a cup of tea with the members. And, no, I think people don't see the other side of him, which we do. But
I don't know what you thought. You probably know better than me, Hugh, but I thought he was a different person this week in interviews I've seen him doing. He seemed, much more helpful and much more friendly and laughing and taking everything on board.
Forgive me for being cynical, but to suggest much more helpful and friendly means he's not really helpful and not really friendly.
At times he's not at all. When he's doing press, I've seen him like he's always like thinking, what are you asking that for? And he's been quite happy. But this last week, the interviews I've seen him, he's been totally different.
The only thing I would suggest to you, and there are times when I think, everybody cringes when they're listening or winces when he comes up with some answers which I think are ill-advised the way he puts it across.
Yeah.
What I would say to you is don't go to a press conference ill-prepared as a journalist.
No, not at all. But yeah, he's got this predilection for trying to be a bit smart. I mean, I always remember he did it to me after during after a Rangers game where Celtic had won, and I think had won the league. He brought on Jan Venegoor of Hesselink, who'd won the league. And I gave him a really nice little lob. I said, I thought Barry Robson had been playing best for Celtic that day, but he took Robson off, put Venegoor of Hesselink on. 2 seconds later, 2 minutes later, Venegoor wins him the league, more or less with a header. So I said to him, how hard was it to take Barry Robson off? And he said, well, it wasn't that hard at all. I just gave the number, I wrote down the number, gave it to Gary Pendry. Gary Pendry went to the fourth official and put up the board.
Yeah.
And there was just a pause where everybody was looking at it, and I went, how hard was it to take Barry Robson on?
Did you go back?
Oh, I just said, that's it. I said, there's no way. I'm not. I didn't even rephrase the question. I just looked at him straight in the eyes and said, how hard, because but I has got that.
I never saw any of that side at all this week in the interviews. Nothing.
And see the reason I think it is as well. I think he knows it's all in. It's all or nothing this week.
And he's going to leave in good spirits.
So he's either going to leave in good spirits, or you're going to stay on in good spirits, or whatever. Yeah. But this is it.
Can I ask you something? I mean, listen, that is where I think he is open to criticism. There's no doubt about that. Are we?
But it doesn't bother me.
No, it doesn't bother me. Are we a bit? Are some journalists just a wee bit too sensitive?
Oh,
the whole thing?
I mean, I remember, for example, a football player, Scott McDonald, absolutely ripping, really funnily ripping me a new one in a press conference where he just did me, and it was brilliant what he did. He'd actually quoted my own words back to me in an answer. Right. Somebody had asked him, how well do you feel you're playing this season, Scott? Just as an easy opening question. He says, well, not bad for somebody who can't run, can't hold the line up, can't score, can't do this, can't do it, but can go offside. Halfway through this, I suddenly remembered, that was my man-by-mans on Scott McDonald last week. So he did not, but he was not worried after press conference, but he said to him, press conference, how are you about that? Maybe that I would go to Peter Lawwell or I'd make him. I said, what do you mean about that? I said, I slaughtered you in a man-by-man. I said, you come in and you have absolutely done me.
Yes.
Just done me. Stiletto. I said, good on you.
I think that's the way to approach it.
Of course it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I always had that working alongside David Provan. He said, just make sure when you write something, you're able to meet the person the next day, face to face, and stick by your principles and your opinion on it. Clyde 2, Stirling 1, Rocky. I know you were hanging on it. David Gormley scored the goal.
Yeah, and good for Peter McDonald. They've been through a right bad spell.
He scored the opener as well, Peter.
Everybody's talking about them, getting near the playoff position, going down to the Lowland League, which would be I think the end.
It'd be a good win because still in good form. They've won their last 5 league games, Peter, still in Albion. Yeah. So they're a team that's been moving up towards the playoff spot. So that would be a good win if Clyde beat them today.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we were talking about Gordon Strachan. What about Lee Griffiths? Will he start? Well, this is what Lee Griffiths had to say on why he thinks he should start for Scotland.
Should start, but I think everybody's got different attributes.
Chris is taller than me, Fletcher's taller than me, but you know, I think these kind of players won't run in behind. I do. But you know, that decision doesn't rest with me. It rests with the manager and who he decides to play. I think, you know, the person he decides to play will be fully focused on doing a job for his country.
That's an interesting insight there from Lee Griffiths, and a very pertinent one as well, Ruffy.
Yeah, but from you, media experts, if you put somebody up in a press conference, does that automatically mean he's in the equation, or have they just put him up there?
Well, here's a great insight into that, Ruffy. If Martin O'Neill is the manager of Celtic and Chris Sutton walks in, what you do is you immediately walk behind the press box area and check and see how long it is before his stookie comes off because he's not playing. Usually they always throw up a red herring.
But what would you take from him being put up in light of we're all talking about who the striker's going to be, and all of a sudden he's the one? It's not Martin up there, it's not Rhodes up there, it's not Fletcher.
Well, I'll tell you this,
Lee Griffiths.
On the basis of what we're all talking about and people are tweeting in and putting messages to us, let me tell you, mind games are irrelevant now, Ruffy, as far as Scotland are concerned. You know, he could throw up Joe Jordan in that press conference today. It doesn't matter. The 5 guys are not going to strike the fear into Slovenia.
Joe Jordan's not a bad shout actually tomorrow. He's at Middlesbrough. It's not a long drive up.
Yeah.
First 5 minutes, get them to throw a ball just underneath the crossbar towards the goalie.
Just out of curiosity, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, and I hope sometimes in the programme when we give you score updates and we keep everybody going, we give you the chance to hear what the managers and players have got to say, and we'll go back to Des and Kev in the Championship. Is it outrageous of me to ask you to tell the story of your Jimmy Nicholl story, or is are you sharing secrets out?
Well, it's not Jimmy Nicholl. It's Ruffy's story.
No, I think it's Jimmy Nicholl's story. Is it?
Yeah, but told to Alan Ruff.
Is that right?
Which one is
this? Is
the passing the ball and throwing it underneath the crossbar.
No, that was you told me.
No, absolutely. Sure.
Oh, I've just had some kind of mental breakdown then.
Yeah. I want to hear it.
I'd love to hear the story.
What was the players involved? Jimmy Nicholl,
Steve Coppell and Joe Jordan. You told me at midweek, Hugh.
No, it was Ruffy told me it. This is going anyway. I remember it.
Yeah,
I can't remember. I mean, I can remember the actual incident, but I can't remember following the words.
Just to clarify.
No, I tell you what it was. It was a bit in a coaching session. It wasn't Jimmy Nicholl. It was Jimmy Nicholl. But he was over at a training session, and it was a famous player. Was it Puskas or something like that? Was training in another.
Well, that's a different story. Come on, we're just losing.
Since we've not got the first one, can we have that one?
Hold on a second.
Can we have that one?
Hold on a second. Can I just confirm to everybody that you haven't joined Cocoon 3, the sequel?
It's two.
Steve Guttenberg is not going to walk in with another egg.
I think you're lucky if you have a youngster like me on the
That's right. I hold it together. Sitting in the middle.
Tell the story, honestly.
Well, the story basically. Do you want the story? I can remember.
If you can tell it, but don't tell it as all the way through. I can tell you, there's a red card for Dumbarton. Gary Fleming has been shown a red card, so up against it now. And in fact, as far as the championship, I'm just going to say before you tell that story, I was just looking there at the way it's all looking in the championship at the moment. Ayr 2, Dumbarton 1, red card, Fleming off, Hibs and Falkirk. I think we're going to go back to Des after you finish your story because Morton's still trying to get the equaliser against Dunfermline. Dunfermline still leading in that match, and it's Wraith 1, Queen of the South 1. That's how it looks in the Championship. Hugh, Jimmy Nicholl, Steve Coppell and Joe Jordan are involved.
And I'm playing for Manchester United, and they're playing against Tottenham Hotspur, and they decide to, very early on, no matter what the manager says, is to, what we would say, rumble up the goalkeeper. And the pass is wide right to to Steve Coppell, back to Jimmy Nicholl, and he throws it in, and Joe goes in after it. And of course, Joe does this, and this leads to the goalkeeper being absolutely taken off. It's the first minute the goalkeeper comes off. But unfortunately, Glenn Hoddle goes and has an absolutely fantastic game, and Tottenham won 3-2. And Jimmy Nicholl said to them as they walk off to the park at the end, he says, I mean, that was the use. That's not a great strategy at all. He says it is if the goalkeeper for next week's watching, and that's the thing. If people know that that's what you're capable of, that's what you're going. I'm like Ruff. You see all this thing, play it calm in the first 5 minutes. I don't know anything about playing professional and top class football, but what people who do play it tell me that is the way you start the game. And if you start it fast, it's easier to pull back. But if you start it patiently, it's very difficult to
I thought it was
jump up.
very evident in the last Rangers-Celtic game.
Yeah.
Because Celtic at the back were slack, Rangers were in, biting, chasing, and that was the whole 45 minutes, the first 45 minutes.
Here's my argument on why Lee Griffiths should start for Scotland, because Lee Griffiths himself, after just saying about the attributes of the other strikers and what he can offer, he admits sometimes, coming on as a substitute, he admits sometimes he's trying too hard in that short space of time to prove himself and break his duck.
I've said it just previous that, maybe I'm trying a little bit too hard and maybe I just need to relax a little bit more, but, I want to try and break my duck as quick as possible for Scotland. It's frustrating as a striker not scoring, but it's not about me, it's about the team and how I can help them and try and get the 3 points.
I do hope he's not a red herring, Gordon. I think he deserves maybe at least a good 75 minutes to see if there's something there, and then change your style to launch it to Chris Martin.
Absolutely. If it's not working, you can take him off and you've got other people there, other options. But I think he's made a good point there. I think there is a case that when you're a sub and getting put on, especially when your person who's replaced you has been such a good goal scorer, a high goal scorer, then you're under pressure, because every time you're almost like, the situation is everybody's more or less saying you're no longer first choice, you can't even play your way back in this team. So he feels a little bit of pressure when he goes on the field. He has to do something, and in fairness to him, he has at times. He's gone on and scored, he's made goals, and I just hope that Scotland see him as a potential match winner tomorrow and give him that opportunity that he can go and show exactly what he can do. But as I say, it's a tough one. But I see still in Albion, it looked as if they'd scored, but it's been corrected. But Dunfermline are 2-0 up against Morton. That is a real shock scoreline for when Morton go last week to Falkirk and get a win, and they're losing at home today.
And particularly everybody talking about their home record.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Great home record, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be going to Capello very shortly to get an update from Kevin Harper on how that goal came about, but that certainly is a shock, and it just absolutely kills our treble off completely, Ruffy. Sorry about that. I don't think there's any way back for Morton in the game.
There's any way back for Ruffy?
There's no way back.
That was really chosen.
I'm just about to say, I don't think there's any way back for Morton in the game, unless Kevin Harper is about to tell me differently on this one. But we'll be with Kevin very shortly. Dunfermline 2-0 up in that match. Kevin, is there any way back for Morton?
Peter, believe it or not, the goal's just been chopped off for a foul. I'm not sure who it was against, but corner from Callum Higginbottom, great corner to the back post, and it was Callum Morris that headed it into the back of the net from about 8 yards, but the referee pulled it back for a free kick. Here at Capello, it's still Morton 0, Dunfermline 1.
Well, there you are. You see how quickly it can change. The guy's been there, he's typing away, and the next minute the referee chops it off. There is a goal at Easter Road. Des McKeown.
And it's a goal to the home side, Peter. It's a delivery from James Keaton's free kick into the box. Effie Ambrose up, batters a header down into the bottom corner. Then comes the somersault after somersault after somersault. 1-0 Hibs, 15 to go.
That's why I love Des. He's
That's
passionate.
It's the head. Where's the head going?
He's given us the header. He's given us 3 triple somersaults. I mean, Robbie, that's what it's all about.
It's fantastic. It was great, wasn't it?
The only thing he
Effie
did,
Ambrose as
I
well.
know, he never told us what goal Effie Ambrose headed the ball into, though. We got clarity in that.
I'm looking forward to Des describing a slide tackle before the show's over. See how he does that one on
That's
there.
magnificent. I mean, that's the Des I know. The excitement, the passion, the delivery, it's all there.
But the bet turned around very quickly there, because we thought Morton were down 2-0, that finished it.
Yeah.
Hibs were still drawing, and in the space of like about 10 seconds, Hibs are 1-0 up, and the Dunfermline goals disallowed.
Let's hope.
There's hope yet, Peter.
Yeah, and how's your Alloa looking?
Winning.
Yeah. So yeah, still hope.
2 out of 3.
We just need Kevin Harper to lift our spirits. If Kevin Harper can replicate what Des just provided us there with, that would be absolutely sensational. You know, the movement, the whole thing. That was great from Des.
An interesting one, Peter. The Forfar, they're losing 3-1 at home today, and I was checking out. Falkirk have equalised.
Well, I can tell you. Listen, everything hangs on this. We're back to Easter Road. Des McKeown.
Are you ready for this one, Peter? It's another delivery from wide. It's a corner. Craig Sibbald coming in to score for the 3rd time against Hibs this season. You ready? Header. 1 each here at Easter Road.
Fantastic, there you are. 3 syllables, it's a movie, it's a header, it's a goal. 1-1, the Coupon.
Very quick reply.
Coupon's busted.
It's busted again. But I was going to say about Forfar, I was amazed. Forfar are sitting top of the League 2, and if they lose, see if they don't win today, they're losing 3-1 at home. This will be 7 games in a row without a win. How many teams can sit top of a league and go 7 games without a win? It's unbelievable. Forfar.
Hibs the same today.
They've won one. I think it was about 6, but Forfar having a nightmare. And I don't know whether they might lose their position because it depends. But Arbroath, who are sitting second to them at the moment, are just drawing with Montrose. But at the end of the day, that's a very poor record for Forfar. I don't know what's happened to them.
Yeah, I'm not having yet again. I mean, that emphasises the problem with Hibernian, Ruffy. They just, you score a goal, keep it tight. Immediately after it, you're always susceptible. But Neil Lennon will be pulling his hair out for that. Yeah. And they've been doing that all season, losing goals.
Yeah, but that's when you need experienced players on the side, particularly in defence or in midfield, somebody to organise the team, because we know what happens when you score a goal. Everybody gets involved, they're all running about, and then for a minute or 30 seconds of that, you lose your composure a wee bit, and everybody's still happy and cheering about the goal, and then all of a sudden they got a corner and it's a goal. And it's
the thing about Ruffy, it was Sibbald that scored it. It wouldn't be one of your big guys that would be picking him up probably though. When your big centre halves would be picking up the threat. Yep. But he's probably getting picked up by a midfield player or something who hasn't done his job.
That he's just run off.
Yeah.
Well, there you are. It's 1-1 in that match between Hibs and Falkirk. We've been hearing from Lee Griffiths on the game, on the potential for him starting in the game. And of course, he has actually been talking also this afternoon about the manager, because, sometimes when a manager, I hate to use the phrase, there's a suggestion that a manager loses the dressing room. No suggestion of that with Gordon Strachan. Lee Griffiths says all the players are right behind him.
A lot of things said about the gaffer it's probably unfair. And us as players, we need to take that criticism as well. I think, the gaffer, everybody loves coming away with Scotland, loves playing under him, and we've seen things that the gaffer should resign and this and that. But us as players, we want to go and get a good performance tomorrow night at 3 points, and that puts us only 1 point behind Slovenia with England game coming up in the summer.
Yeah, I think that backs up the point you were talking about, Gordon, as well. We were discussing it earlier, which is quite simply, you can't keep everybody happy. There are always going to be players who will be on the outskirts of the side saying, I should be playing.
Oh, definitely. I mean, every club. I mean, it was probably worse in the old days when you had 11 players. When I started playing, it was 1 sub as well. So it was 12 of you were involved, where nowadays you've got about 19. Like the squad and all that sort of thing, but even at that, it's difficult because, as you say, if you're not playing, Peter, and you expect to be in a team you think you should be playing, then it is a bit of a downer, and you do get a bit angry about it, and you just have to wait, and hopefully you're going to get the chance at some stage and turn it around and get back in the side. And it's happening for him basically at international level. He hasn't really been a regular, but it must be worse from at club level, Peter. If you think about it, when you score 40 goals in a season and you're not playing the next season. I mean, Brendan Rodgers does say quite clearly when he's ever asked about him, he goes, I wasn't here last season. So he dismisses it completely, the fact that he actually scored 40 goals, but he scored 40 goals in a team that weren't as good as the current Celtic team. You know what I mean? So I can understand why he must be a bit frustrated by that.
Clyde 2, Stirling 2. Hugh Ross Cavanagh has got the equaliser in that one.
Yeah, and Stirling, you know, who were occupying that bottom place not that long ago, 6 or 8 weeks ago.
Yeah, a great run.
Just a great run, moved themselves clear of any problems. Cowdenbeath, I didn't goal against Cowdenbeath as a goal. But this pyramid system now, these games, and Stirling have gone ahead till it's chalked off. But Stirling have gone ahead, and we go on and on about how this pyramid system is fantastic. It's brought teams into the league, and I agree with it totally. I agree with the whole the idea of merit, but it's going to have some victims. And if Clyde or Cowdenbeath are down there, there's a lot of history. Particularly, I think for a Glasgow man like myself, I mean, I can remember, and it's not getting the old violin out and shouting for the nurse for medication, but I can remember Clyde were third in the top division under Craig Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how good Clyde were.
Yeah.
And I can remember some great players that played for Clyde. I mean, Harry Hood, for example, Steve Archibald.
Yeah.
Pat Nevin.
Pat Nevin was
Pat
there.
Nevin was there. I mean, there was a lot of smashing players there. So the idea of Clyde slipping out of what we call mainstream professional football, the top leagues, is a real worrying one.
Yeah, over and above that without a stadium as well, Gordon. I mean, the whole thing is a mess there.
Absolutely. No, as I say, it's going to be tough for them. I mean, they were doing well today, they were ahead, but now Stirling, as you said, I mentioned it earlier on, 5 wins in a row, Stirling. I mean, that's 15 points when you're sitting struggling at the bottom of the league. That's a massive difference that makes. But at least from Clyde's point of view, at the moment, Cowdenbeath are losing to Annan. But Livingston comfortably now, that was 4-1 ahead, so as I say, that game's tied up now for Livingston.
Yeah, Darren Smith with the goal there for Stirling. So that game is turned on its head. As far as Easter Road, we'll go back to Des just before it gets to full time, because it's 1-1 there now. A couple of goals. And I can tell you, Nicky Cadden has scored that Livingston goal, so it's 4-1 there. Let's head back to Easter Road and see if any of the two sides there look the more likely to get what would prove to be the winner, Des?
Yeah, there's every chance that it would be, Peter, just as we had a corner coming in for Hibs. But just 2 seconds ago, what led to that corner, Brian Graham, a deep cross from Effie Ambrose, brilliant volley, but bounced over the bar from a block by Luca Gasparotto. All the changes are made now. We've got Aaron Muirhead on, we have Brian Graham, as I mentioned. Paul Hanlon's just come on for Jordan Foster. Both managers playing their cards. We've got 5 minutes left here. Both sides pushing for a winner. It's still 1 apiece here at Easter Road.
Des, give us a little insight into Effie Ambrose. Is he a different type of player completely now, wearing the green and white of Hibs?
You know, he's actually cruised the game, Peter. He's been playing as a right back. I thought Darren McGregor would maybe go to right back with Effie playing centre back, but Effie's been playing right back. He's just as cool as a cucumber. Sometimes the fans round about you aren't quite as cool because he does take chances, but he's getting away with it at this level. A very accomplished performance by him, and I'm sure Neil Lennon will make mention of how important a signing he has been for him.
Yeah, and it's amazing how these things can change. Just a little bit of confidence is something that players thrive on, Gordon Smith.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a big factor in football. As we were talking earlier on about it, the mentality, and one of the things you do need is a level of confidence, because if you've not got that out and playing matches, it's going to affect you greatly. So you have to have a belief in yourself, you have to have a feel that you can do a job, and even if you start the game badly, you know it can turn around. But as soon as players lose their confidence, we see it so often at times that it just becomes a different game. But a big goal there at Arbroath. Arbroath sitting second top of the league, but Montrose have just gone ahead.
Yep.
That be considered a derby game, probably?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the Ambrose thing as well, it's interesting is that you know, I've watched this throughout my career. When you go and watch a player and you say, oh God, goodness gracious, I don't remember him being as good as that when he played with Hibs or Hearts or Rangers or Celtic. And you suddenly realise it's because you're watching them with a Montrose or a Stranraer in a division that's well. I mean, Effie Ambrose has been compromised in big matches, but you've got to remember these big matches are like Juventus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's playing, with all the respect in the world, he's playing against Falkirk today.
Yeah.
So he is. What people have got to remember as well is this guy's a guy who, up until recently, was playing Champions League football and who is a winner of the African Cup of Nations. So there is he's an easy shorthand for a joke, and I indulge in that as well.
Yeah.
But there's obviously he's a player, you know.
Yeah, Broth 0, Montrose 1. Gary Fraser has the goal for Montrose, which again actually just leads me to something that you and me both attended in midweek. We were at the awards ceremony for Show Racism the Red Card, which was just a great event. School kids from up and down the country all submitting artwork, messages, videos, posters, trying to display their interpretation of how we should try and at grassroots level, at kids level, emphasise the need to get sectarianism and racism as a thing of the past. Just educate people on the issues of sectarianism and racism, and it was a brilliant event. And I spotted 4 kids. I can't quite remember the school, which is really annoying for me, Gordon, when I announced that they had won the award, and the 4 girls came skipping down. I mean, absolutely bouncing down. They were so excited. I think they might have been, 10, 11, and the 4 girls came bouncing down. They got their certificates and they were well happy. They got their photograph taken, and you get a prize, and they'd won tickets to go and see Montrose. So there you are.
And you said, I remember you saying it now, Peter. He compared the show very well, really well. And he said,
there's a butt coming.
I can see by your faces you're really happy with that prize. So all sitting there going, thanks.
Put it this way, they didn't bounce back to their seats here. That's all I'm saying to you. You know, there's others there winning other prizes, and when I said Montrose tickets, they were like, okay, there you are. Thank you very much for that. Just an observation, but nevertheless, Montrose are winning. Ruffy, what more can you ask for? Edinburgh City, what a big win for them today, Ruffy.
Yeah,
2-0
they
up
look
in
as if obviously a really, really sticky start, you know, trying to come to terms with playing at that level, but they seem to have got their act together as the seasons went on, and they look as if they can claw themselves away from all the trouble.
They were doing great till I chose them last week and were cooking them. They got beaten. Now they're back in form again. They were like, they must have known I'd chosen.
More and more looks in that division, Clyde and Cowdenbeath. Really
the struggling teams, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Graham McKinney actually sent us a message, and sorry I haven't managed to read out some of the Facebook messages. He says, well, boys, in my opinion, Zidane is up there with the very best. You know, when we were talking about our top 5 world footballers, I think, again, it's a disgrace we've forgotten about him.
No, it's fine. We had a talk when we were off air one time, and I mentioned, you know, once we missed out were the other Ronaldo, the Portuguese Ronaldo, Zidane, Puskas, Di Stefano, Eusebio, Figo.
Yeah,
I would think Stojkovic, who was a fantastic player.
I think you might have a battle to get Stojkovic in there.
A lot of people don't really remember him, but I remember him and seeing him, and he was fantastic. I saw him at Celtic Park one day.
Even like guys like Hadji.
Wonderful.
Look at Hadji. Nobody would ever think of him.
That's a good
Hadji as well, yeah.
What about Platini?
Platini, yeah, definitely.
Just as well got Ruffy here for in goal, because then we got
Buffon. No, Buffon's the man. How many caps did he get
100.
the other night?
Was it 150?
Yeah.
More than that.
Buffon.
He paid his thousands game.
Yeah, there was other players mentioned as well who I know we're talking mainly forwards, aren't we? But you've got to go look at Baresi and Maldini right up there. I think you said Hullet, Van Basten. You know what I mean? There's a whole range. It's just down to ultimately it's down to opinion.
Absolutely, we love that. That's what this programme is about. It's about offering an opinion. And again, I have to say to you on Facebook. I mean, I've had a ding-dong battle with an Aberdeen fan who just clearly is not having any of my suggestion that the Aberdeen players are not good enough. And sometimes I think if you live in a city where there's only one team and if you fall out of line, then you're ostracised. Yeah. I've just basically said that, you know, it's all about levels. And I don't think Kenny McLean or Ryan Jack are good enough to oust the quality that we have available in the middle of the park, and I certainly don't think Graham Shinnie is the best of the 3 that are in front of him.
Oh no, he's not.
So I just don't see the argument, you know.
I agree with you. I think they're very good. I agree with that. They're very good players, and in normal circumstances they'd be challenging. But you're right to say that, Peter, because the funny thing is Shinnie is not going to get a midfield role. Maybe then you say left back. That's one of our strongest areas. We've got 3 first-class left backs.
Yeah.
He's not going to get that position. And you're right in terms of, you know, the other boys like Jack and McLean. would they replace any of the people we have in the Scottish midfield? The answer is no.
No chance.
No. So,
and no disrespect to the boys.
No, none at all.
I think
they're very good players.
I think Kenny McLean will get better.
Yeah.
Ryan Jack will undoubtedly get better.
Yes.
Graham Shinnie, I just think, is an unfortunate suggestion when we have a plethora of them to choose from. The other point I would make is if Graham Shinnie was a right back, he'd be in there right now with maybe 30 caps under his belt.
Unless he'd fallen out with Gordon.
That's another point, but it's another argument for you. Brian McCorkle says, listen, we need goals. Why wouldn't we put Kenny Miller in there?
Do you know something?
I know, Hugh.
He gave up his international career, that's why.
Well, listen, let's not look for anybody taking the moral high ground on this. You can change your mind. Many a player has.
He has.
If Scott Brown can change his mind, so could Kenny Miller.
Could have, yeah, but
sometimes you go for desperation. And I don't mean Kenny's desperation. For me, he's a goal scorer and he'll run his heart out for me. I'm a big fan.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the last game he played, he scored a wonderful goal, didn't he? Was it against England?
England, yeah, 3-2.
So no, I agree with you, but he has given up. So there's other people coming in front unless he changes his mind. Like Scott Brown suddenly come back to great form and just say it's a game to game for Scott Brown too. See if we lose tomorrow, he'll be finished.
Yeah. He's on a game by game as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I think there's a bit of drama right at the end.
Somewhere.
Let's go to Easter Road and find out about the drama from Des McKeown.
Into stoppage time at Easter Road, you can probably tell by the noise in the background, guys. James Keatings has scored an absolute worldie. Got it in the left-hand side, cut onto his right foot, and he's curled an absolute beauty into the top left-hand corner. It's going to deliver 3 points to Hibs here at Easter Road. It's now Hibs 2, Falkirk 1.
Well, there you are. If you've got to win a game, you might as well win it in style, Ruffy.
And he's a super sub now, isn't he, James Keating? You know, maybe not do the 90 minutes, but you know, if he's sitting on the bench, you know, you can bring him on to do something special. And again, he's done it again, and it's not the first time.
It should be the winner, but we need to wait. The last time Hibs scored 1
minute later,
it was like within a minute. It was an equaliser, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If there's an equaliser now, you would have to beep out Neil Lennon's press conference.
Goodness gracious!
Definitely.
Big result, finished Ayr United 2, Dumbarton 1.
That is a big
huge result in the Championship.
Yeah.
Talking about, I mean, he would have to bleep out the rest of the week. I mean, imagine even, I'd be surprised if any players would have the gumption to turn up at Trinent on Monday for their training if they lost another goal after that.
No, you're spot on with the Ayr one, Hugh. I mean, Ayr and Hibs getting wins today, but the big shock for me is Morton.
Aye, that's a surprise for me.
That's a major surprise. I thought Dunfermline OK have been doing fine, they're playing better than they were playing earlier on, but you're just thinking the run Morton have been on and the wins have been getting, and to go to Falkirk last week and win, and the great home form, as you said, Ruffy, earlier on, you think, Morton will get the win today, and they haven't.
And it's every time the Hibs get that vital 3 points, everybody underneath them just throws the points away.
Exactly.
Says, there you go, Hibs, have another rerun.
I know. Well, Queen's Park have scored, Peter, and it must be the 93rd minute or something like that, or 4th minute. They've got the equaliser against Alloa.
I can tell you, Hibs have indeed won. James Keating's wonder strike has won it. We will be, just after this quick break, back there for the full-time report from Des McKeown at Easter Road. That if you're going to score a winner, you might as well score it in the last couple of seconds. Alloa 2, Queen's Park 2, late equaliser there. Clyde 2, Stirling 3 has finished now. And Stenhousemuir 0, Albion Rovers 3. A big win there as well. The scores coming in thick and fast. I think Ian McCall will certainly be a happy man as Ayr United get a 2-1 win. St Mirren lost the Challenge Cup to Dundee United by 2-1, and it hasn't been a great day for results for them in the Championship. We'll discuss that and more Scotland chat next. Welcome back to Peter Murphy's Saturday Football Show. A day of drama in the Championship. Will there be drama at Hampden Park tomorrow evening for Scotland-Slovenia? We'll hear more from Gordon Strachan and Lee Griffiths, and we'll also hear from an England man, former England international and former Arsenal player, Ray Parlour. I caught up with him earlier this week. Let's go to Easter Road in the Championship. It's finished now. Des McKeown for Hibs against Falkirk.
Full time at Easter Road, Peter, and it's finished. Hibs 2, Falkirk 1. For the third time this season, Neil Lennon's side come out 2-1 victors over their nearest rivals, and today may be the day that they take a giant step towards automatic promotion back to Scotland's top flight. We had to wait late for a winner, and what a winner it was. Deep into injury time, James Keating's a substitute just before half time, got the ball wide left. He took it onto his right side, his weaker side. You wouldn't have known it because he curled an absolute beauty into the top corner to secure all 3 points. The two other goals came within a minute of each other. Again, Keating's the provider for the opener. A great delivery from wide from a free kick. Effie Ambrose up, headed low into the bottom corner to give Hibs the lead. Only a minute later, a Fraser-Aird corner for Falkirk. Craig Sybil diving across the front post, nodded it below the Hibs goalkeeper to give Falkirk that faint hope that they may take something from the game. Alas, it was not to be, and that now leaves Hibs 10 points ahead in the Championship with only 7 fixtures left. It's been a very good day for Neil Lennon, not so for Peter Houston. Manager's comments to come shortly.
Okay, so Hibs get it by 2-1. Let's go to Capello for the full time there. Kevin Harper watched Morton against Dunfermline.
Here at Capello it finished Morton 0, Dunfermline 1, and it was that goal after 15 minutes, a mistake from Gaston in the Morton goal, corner from Callum Higginbottom, Gaston goes up to collect it, drops it, Nicky Clark hooks it back in, and there was Nat Weatherburn from 2 yards to put it into the back of the net. That was a goal that separated the teams. The second half was end-to-end, Peter, really exciting. Both keepers making good stops, Gaston keeping Morton in the game. But for all Morton's play in the second half and pressure, you know, they couldn't find a way past Sean Murdoch, who made a couple of great saves too. And here it finished Morton 0, Dunfermline 1.
Well, there you are. Any man of the match standing out for you, Kevin, in that game?
I think that Weatherburn for Dunfermline was excellent, just shielded the back four, but the whole back four, the whole Dunfermline back four gave everything, including the five. If I include Weatherburn in that, they're tremendous, headed everything, tackled everything. But the biggest disappointment for Jim Duffy must be the front three of Morton. They've been so good this season, but today just didn't happen for them.
Okay, thanks to Kevin Harper out there watching Morton against Dunfermline. Big win there for Hibernian at the top end of the table, taking a significant step, as Des McKeown mentioned there, towards the title in the Championship and a return to the top flight. They've been waiting for it for 3 years. They've managed to throw in a Scottish Cup victory to remember, and as many a Hibs fan will tell you, they're chasing a double. Could they win the Scottish Cup again and celebrate the Championship title? It's a long shot, but we've had long shots in the last couple of seasons. We'll be back after this break. Hi to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday football show, full time across the country in the lower leagues. Let's go to the Championship first of all. Ayr United 2, Dumbarton 1, Hibernian 2, Falkirk 1, Morton 0, Dunfermline 1, Wraith Rovers 1, Queen of the South 1. In the Challenge Cup final, Dundee United 2, St Mirren 1. In League 1, Alloa Athletic 2, Queen's Park 2, Brecon City 2, East Fife 1, Livingston 4, Airdrieonians 2, Peterhead 2, Stranraer 2, and Stenhousemuir 0, Albion Rovers 3. In League 2, Annan Athletic 1, Cowdenbeath 0, Arbroath 0, Montrose 1, Clyde 2, Stirling Albion 3, Edinburgh City 3, Elgin City 0, and Forfar 2, Berwick Rangers 3. Here in the studio, Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Hugh MacDonald. All the chat on Scotland earlier on. We heard from Gordon Strachan. We'll hear more from Lee Griffiths as well. You can give us your view on the match tomorrow against Slovenia. Who would you play? We'll go back over what we think might be a possible lineup. Gordon Strachan might have other ideas. He may well surprise all of us before kick-off tomorrow evening. But you can give us your view on that. We will also give you the result of our poll on who you think should start up front for Scotland. There are 4 options. We've kind of dismissed Jordan Rhodes. I hope we're not tempting fate here on that one, but Gordon Strachan, we've offered 4 options for you on at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter. You could have Lee Griffiths, Chris Martin, Stephen Fletcher and Stevie Naismith. If you think differently, then don't forget to message us as well, and on facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy 2 if you want to offer your opinion. The Championship is where there's been a number of big results today, Hugh MacDonald.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also not only big results, but I think it's a crucial day in the Championship. I think we can say, not without fear of doubt, but we can say quite confidently now that Hibs been 10 points clear. I think you can say, you know, they're more than likely champions. I think you can say with a pretty good degree of certainty that the playoff places are solved as well, because you've got Falkirk, Greenock Morton and Dundee United there. I think Queen of the South now being 8 points away from that is, you could say that's the top end of the league done. The bottom end of the league is just, it's just going to be a real battle. A real battle to the death. I think that result for Ayr today was so important for them. Keeps them with Dumbarton. St Mirren, it's just been a poor day all round for them.
Yeah.
It's just been a poor. They've lost the cup, and then they've looked at all those results and have not got a result that suited them.
And I don't want to put Ruffy and yourself on a downer as well, but I feel as if I'm going to have to with this tweet that's come in at Peter and Ruffy, which is just an indication of how bad the day can get, because Mark, who is a big Hibs fan, says, well in Hibs. I'm just watching the programme and noticing how much Gordon Smith looks like David Bowie. Does he get that a lot? Yeah, from people who are standing at one end of the M8 while he's at the other.
David Bowie.
There you are. No, look at him.
I've not been told that before.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about being under pressure. Hey, there you go. We're back with more of that.
I'm to sing.
Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Championship taking centre stage today in Scotland. Hibs rallying to the cause right at the death. A wonderful goal by James Keatings provides Neil Lennon's side with all 3 points just when it looked, Hugh McDonald, as if they were going to share a point apiece against Falkirk.
Yeah, you just can't underestimate the importance of that result. I mean, you just got to look at that and say that might even be the title-winning result. They've got a nice buffer now. The pressure's completely off because the pressure would really have increased with another poor result. Yep, smashing. Apparently, his wrong foot as well. James is more noted for his left. So hugely important goal.
Yeah, the thing about it is as well that's the 10-point lead as you mentioned, Hugh. But Hibs have also got a game in hand, and they play. It's during this week, Peter. They play Morton.
Yeah.
Is it Wednesday night? Is it?
Yep.
Yeah. So. That could be a 13-point lead. As Hugh says, it probably is. It's probably tied up already. But if they get the 13 points in front, then you've got to say league's over.
Yeah, and they can start looking at the cup as well very seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that. I think Lenny will have. He's played down the cups quite rightly, saying that the championship is everything, and the championship is everything now.
Yeah.
But I think I'll have a wee kick at that and say, do you know what? I wouldn't fancy a repeat here.
Well, you couldn't rule it out. But what I would say to you is this. I think there would be criticism of Aberdeen if they were to lose to Hibernian, and rightly so. I think they go into it red hot favourites. They've had the plaudits, they've had a lot of people analysing, dissecting them. Quite a lot this year. They've responded with some very good results. I think they have to live up to the hype.
Yeah, I think Hibs are getting them at the wrong time. I think Aberdeen are on a wee run now. Their big players are all playing. They're winning games, although a lot of them not very comfortably, but they're winning. I think the biggest thing for me with Derek McInnes is taking an Aberdeen team to a semi-final, and turning up, because it's not the first time that they've turned up and been so poor, and been on a good run. And I think that's what he needs to put his finger on, is why that is happening to particular players. As soon as they get a semi-final, they just seem to freeze. So if they could get that out of their makeup, then you would say, they should be the finalists.
You'd have to look at it as being the best draw they could have had as well in the semi-final, Aberdeen getting Hibs, because you think, well, they are a championship club, but they were not in the best of form, as we know, until today. I mean, one win out of the last 6 league games, but it's a good win for them today. So Aberdeen will be the favourites, but probably under a little bit more pressure. Aberdeen will be expected to win that game, Peter.
Yeah, and of the other results, Morton, that was a surprise.
Yep, absolute surprise to me, particularly given not only their form, but their form at home. Dunfermline last week losing as well in what became a relegation battle for them, because Alan Johnson was just talking weeks before of maybe pushing towards the playoffs. That result against Ayr United last week brought them back into at least the discussion for relegation. So a great result for Alan Johnson and his team. But I mean, that's a bloody blow to Morton. But as I say, they can regroup again. I think it's now really important for Morton and Falkirk and Dundee United.
Yeah,
it's important who finishes second, because who finishes second is a real, gives you an extra, wee time off. It means you don't have to play 2 extra games.
Yeah.
So there is something to fight for there.
Well, that's why it was a bad result for Morton today in that respect, Hugh, because Morton could have gone 3 points ahead of Falkirk with 2 games in hand.
I know.
Right? So that would have put them in a strong position to get that second spot, because you're right, it's less games to play. You then have Falkirk having to play Dundee United. So Morton have thrown it away today. And see, you talk about Coop and Busters, that probably has to go down as one, I think.
Yeah, and it actually puts them right up against it at Easter Road, of all places, for the Wednesday night game as well. There's a number of things we will be discussing. We'll hear from Lee Griffiths ahead of Scotland against Slovenia. We'll read out some of your messages, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy, and some of your tweets as well at Peter and Ruffy. We'll give you the result of our poll. We'll hear from the Arsenal legend Ray Parlour in the programme. There's a couple of things I want to get your thoughts on, lads. Just slightly away from that, obviously the Premiership is not in action today, but Rangers certainly have been in action. They've been interviewing 2 or 3 candidates for the Ibrox number 3 coaching role. Gordon Smith, John Brown, Peter Lovenkrands, Barry Ferguson, Alec Ray also mentioned. So he's got a decision to make, and they reckon they'll make that decision this week.
I was wondering who's going to make the decision, though. I mean, is it the manager's been interviewing him or other people at the club?
Manager.
So he's going to have to try and get some sort of feel. It's hard to do that for an interview. He doesn't really know the people. But he'll recognise one thing. They've all got a record of being working at Rangers as players, doing the job. Barry Ferguson's been in management, so's Alec Ray. Peter Lovenkrands hasn't really been in the game. But John Brown's been in management as well. And John Brown's also connected to the club as well. He's a representative. I think even the event you were talking about on Thursday, he was there representing Rangers Football Club,
yes.
John Brown, at the show races on the red card. So you wonder why that if he was wanting that job, that he wasn't really put forward, or doesn't just say, I'm having this job, maybe they're saying it is down to the manager who he actually prefers.
Well, I'm almost certain that will be the case. Again, John is forthright in his opinion. You know, some people can take it or leave it on certain beliefs that he has. He has mentioned on the Rangers website that he thinks Pedro Caixinha, he wants to succeed and he needs people around about him to tell him and let him understand about Scottish football and the way the game is played and the feelings that are against Rangers. There is that kind of a strange siege mentality. You know, if you can use it in a positive sense, fine and dandy. But I don't think, I don't like to hear that from within the club.
Yeah, I just think there's an awful lot of pressing the buttons going on for the support, you know. Yeah. I'm not any fan of the Rangers martyrdom when it came to what's happened to them, since 2012. I think it was completely and utterly self-inflicted. The idea that the people outside, in terms of the SFA or, whatever, had any sort of bearing on what happened in terms of administration liquidation is just frankly absurd. This was a situation that Scottish football inherited because Rangers, Rangers' fiscal policies. So I'm not keen on that as well. To tell you the truth, I'm not hugely keen on having, everybody says, you must have a Rangers man on board, and I'm kind of going to say, why?
Yeah, I think.
No, why? Okay, having a Scottish man. I'm all right having a guy that knows.
I think he want to realise that. I think he want to know what, in terms of the mentality that's required, in terms of, because one of the things he always talked about, Hugh, was about the character you need to have. A lot of people can go to the old firm at Rangers or Celtic and can't really cope with it. And what they're saying is these are guys that cope with it, and that might be a reason why they think these are the kind of people that know what it's like to be successful at Rangers, because they all were.
Yeah. I have nothing against anybody suggesting they want a Rangers person, if that Rangers person can provide something in a coaching capacity. If it's if it's just you want a Rangers man to explain to you traditions, then buy a book. But as far as offering something in a coaching capacity that can enhance what the players are going to do day to day, I'm all for it if you can give them an insight. The key element here for me is nothing to do with who they pick as the third coach. The key element for me is that conversation that has already taken place between Pedro Caixinha and Dave King. And basically it is, how much money are you giving me? What standard of calibre of player am I going to get in one window, and will you be able to back it up in the next window? And that's the first stage. And the second stage from the Rangers fans' perspective is, Mr. King, let's have a breakdown here of who's actually providing the real money here. Everybody's aware that there is a deal, rightly or wrongly signed with the merchandise, which strangles the club, and I think it's an unfortunate situation. But I think the key element here is, how much are you giving the manager, and how are you taking them forward here? Is it the season tickets that are bailing this club all the way forward again?
That's a crucial point, because what you're also looking at, and as I say, if I was a director at the club, I would be bringing the Caixinha in and saying to him, right, you're coming in here, and based on your reputation, and maybe even what he said at his interview, you're going to improve the current group of players we've got. Because what we're saying is some of the players haven't been performing as well as they can, but with the right man in charge, and Brendan Rodgers is a good example. We've seen it at Celtic, that certain players who were considered, he won't be, Stuart Armstrong's the best example of the lot, he won't make it, now a star, right? So what you're looking at saying is, right, okay, you've got to look in between now and the end of the season, you have to determine which players are going to be the ones going forward, and then from that you determine which positions are key ones that we do not have, suitable players in, and then he has to know, the manager has to know how much money have I got.
Another thing Rangers have to be aware of, that they don't fall into the Ronnie Delia trap, where you have a coach who has not got a pedigree, but obviously an interview is going to say all the right things. Like I don't need money. You know, I'll come in and I'll identify a couple of young players from Mexico, and as Ronnie Delia was doing, I'll go along with the young players, bringing young players in, and I won't spend any of your money and blah blah blah. And look what happened to Celtic. So I agree with you. There has to be money. This guy has to be judged by, I would say, the first 2 or 3 players that he brings into that club, and they have to be a success.
Of course, it has to be sensible in terms of the spend, though.
Yeah, and also I don't think there would be, I might be wrong here, listen, managers always bring in 1 or 2 that they know from other leagues. That's a stonewall certainty to happen, I think, with the new coach. But I think they should start to look at a better calibre of player, maybe some more homegrown players who are a standard above what they have at the moment. Maybe that'll fit his style. We don't know what his style is yet, by the way.
Maybe players that are even there. There's a couple of really young boys there who are exceptionally talented.
But the boy Gilmour will not be within that Rangers team within 10 years.
No, not Gilmour, but I'm thinking of others, you know. And Gilmour's only 15. But no, I think it's crucial to say as well that he has to improve players that are there, because that's going to be, there's not going to be a clear out of 20 players out and 20 in. They haven't got the resources for it. And the interesting thing is, in fact, the most interesting thing I think about Brendan Rodgers is that in the team that's playing now, in the best, you would say, Brendan Rodgers' best 11, an 11 that's winning the league by 30 points, there's 2 signings in it. That's it.
Yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right, Hugh. I think what they'll be looking for, the Rangers board are looking for this thing. We brought this guy in, and we think he can do the job with the current group. So that what happens is, if they suddenly hit form between now and the end of the season, that takes away totally from the fact that it was just, there's a massive spend need. No, we might say he might take Rangers through to the end of the season and they play very well, do improve a lot, and then he says, I need a striker and I need a centre back, and that's the money. The money's put available for that. That's maybe what he has to determine, Peter, and he has to show the board between now and the end of the season that he's going to improve this team.
We've got a situation now where we're looking forward to tomorrow night's game, and I think the 4 of us are all agreed, and I think the Scotland managers agreed, that he must start with Forrest and Armstrong. If you'd have said that last summer, if you'd have said, no, this is a must, it's a must-win game for Scotland, and he must start with Stuart Armstrong and James Forrest, it'd belong to the David Bowie's Laughing Gnome track. It'd just be
my track.
Well, to be honest with you, and I'd like to thank quite a lot of people who are actually sending us photographs of David Bowie in Labyrinth, the movie, which is probably
latex.
I'm just looking at things. It's startling how he looks like Gordon, but nevertheless, just on the point of selecting people, we put out a poll: who should start up front for Scotland? Lee Griffiths 78%, Stephen Fletcher 5%, Chris Martin 2%, and Stephen Naismith 15%. So clearly, at this point, even with a straw poll of 100 people, you know there is a strong move towards Lee Griffiths starting, and I think for me personally, Ruffy, I would throw him in and say, right, you've been coming on as a bit part player. You haven't been able to play your way into my team, but now I'm going to give you 75 minutes to tell me what you can show me what you can do. Yeah, well, and the evidence of what he can do, he's worth a chance. In the 40 goals he scored last year. A lot of them were superb. He is a proven striker. He can score the spectacular. He can be out of the game and still score goals. I just hope he doesn't go into the game knowing that he's got to impress and he starts running a bit like a headless chicken. And because Gordon Strachan has always said that my whole team is all about the striker bringing other players into the game. It's all about making a run and bringing the guys in the wide areas into it, or whoever's Armstrong if he's getting forward.
That's why I think he's the best choice.
Yeah, and we saw when the times come on, all right, even in the European football, it never really worked for him. But at least he made the runs. He came on in one game in the last 15 minutes and had 3 chances. And it's more chances than any of the others are having.
But there's 2 questions here. And the second one, this is one, here's a straw poll I want to conduct here myself.
Yeah.
Not should he play, will he play? Will he start tomorrow? Do you think he will start the game tomorrow?
Griffiths?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think no. What do you think, Gordon?
I think no.
I think no as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have to say to you right now, even if here's another little twist, I beg your pardon, that we haven't actually thought about, which I think will become evident. But I never like hearing footballers talk about the state of the pitch. You either got a good touch or you haven't. I look at Glenn Hoddle could have kept the ball up in a cow field.
Yeah.
This Hampden Park is not in great nick. Queen's Park have been playing on it. It's not in good condition. It'll probably look good. Let's hope the sun stays out. Let's hope it doesn't cut up. But it's not been in great condition. It'll probably have to be relayed for the Scottish Cup final again. So I hope that doesn't become an issue here. Quite simply, though, on the basis of what I witnessed the other night there, I don't think Chris Martin's got a chance of starting. I think his touch was poor. I think he looked out of sorts completely. And if he's an option, I think we're going to be struggling. If he is an option against that backline of Slovenia, which is sturdy, physical, tall.
But my argument for that would be, if anybody talks about the pitch, I would say these players in Slovenia have probably been brought up playing more football on better surfaces than our players have. So if there's anybody going to be affected by the pitch, in my opinion, it'll be Slovenia.
Yeah, I think the pitch only comes into when does it go well for you. Do you think Hibs? We saw the state of the pitch the Canada game. Hibs have played on it the day. It couldn't have been any better. Do you think anybody for Hibs is going to come out and say, "Oh, that pitch was murder"?
No.
Of course they're not, because they've won the game.
Yeah. Well, listen, Effie Ambrose was able to do a somersault on it, Ruffy. That's how good the pitch was.
Everybody wants to play in a good pitch, but if it's not a good pitch, then you've got enough ability to go out and do your best on it, because it's the same for both teams.
Yeah, absolutely. OK, there's that dilemma as well. Just out of curiosity, Gordon, probably you're best placed on it. If you were... who knows what they said to Pedro Caixinha, but of the 4 candidates that I've mentioned there might be one out of left field that we're not aware of, but who do you think's best placed to get that job as Ibrox number 3 role in your mind?
It's hard to say. I would probably say Alec Ray, to be honest with you, just in terms of the fact that he's most recently been in the game. He's a guy who works very hard at the game. I know Barry Ferguson comes into that category as well, but I would think it'd be Alec Ray or Barry Ferguson, maybe just Alec Ray slightly ahead.
Yeah.
Both, I think Alec Ray or Barry. I think they're modern day footballers, young footballers who have had a wee sample of it. We know both of them. They're just, in particular Alec, who's so passionate about everything he does. Doesn't matter whether it's Rangers. You put him in any club and he would give the players something. I just worry about if he's bringing 2 of his own coaches. And this guy's now after them. What are you going to get? What is your job? What is your duties going to be? Just to go in and say, "Oh, this team, they're 2 dangerous players," or him and him.
That might be
anybody.
Because the other aspect of it, mate, I don't even know whether you'll be able to put on your own sessions. Because Caixinha might be the guy that says, "Here's what the training's going to be today. You go out and take it, but this is what you have to do." So they might not even. But the other aspect was it'll be people that will just be given advice on the opposition. What's required?
Things like Petroja needs an overnight stay. Or how far is it? No, seriously, I mean, what do you do? How do you go to Inverness?
I know. I understand that, Hugh, but I
think they have an overnight stay for Celtic Park.
I think they might need that. Well, listen, I can tell you right now that a lot of clubs do have an overnight stay, but I understand where you're coming from. Just another little point. We're going to hear from Ray Parlour very shortly, and we'll also hear from, hopefully, the Hibs manager, Neil Lennon, before we go off air, talking about that dramatic win today for Hibs against Falkirk. Late goal by James Keating, somersault from Effie Ambrose, brilliantly described by Des McKeown. And Arno Jim has come out and says he reckons Hearts are on the verge of challenging Celtic for the title next season. Wise words from a man who says, "I want to leave in the summer."
Yeah, and obviously he's had a somersault, but hasn't managed to get his hands down quickly enough to take the impact.
Thanks for that, Hugh. You've dismissed that out of hand. I think it'll be interesting to see. I can't stop laughing at you with that line there. I think it'll be interesting to see the type of player Ian Cathro is able to recruit in this summer. Again, I'm not interested in this I think it's a stupid argument, Gordon, over whether Craig Levein helps them from the sidelines or not.
Yeah.
If you don't win games, fine, you'll get the bullet. Maybe some people will call for Craig Levein.
Yeah.
But if you start winning games, it'll not matter what Craig Levein does.
It'll be interesting just now. There must have been a bit of a downer to an extent, because they were looking at the beginning of the season, and Budge spoke about it, was a challenge for second spot. They got third, challenge for second. Now they're sitting in fifth spot. I mean, to actually go behind St Johnstone is a major blow for Hearts in terms of their aspirations and their what they've set their targets, ambitions, and it's not good enough. And he's brought in some players just now that haven't all worked. Things aren't going great, so they must be in a scenario there where they've got to sit down and look very closely at the squad they have and decide how they're going to recruit and who they're going to bring in, because I hope they go and bring in other good Scottish players as well, because they seem to be bringing in mainly foreign players, don't they?
Yeah. OK, Scotland-Slovenia takes place tomorrow evening at Hampden Park. Ruffy and myself are going to go along to it. Hugh is going to have a cup of tea in his chair and shout at the telly, as some people do. Gordon hasn't quite made his mind up just yet. Of course, we've got England on the horizon as well. And I caught up with Ray Parlour in midweek, the former Arsenal and England international, to get his thoughts on Scotland against England. But first of all, I thought I would ask him the burning question about his old club. Will Arsene Wenger stay or go, or should he stay or go?
Certainly, that's the big question everybody wants to know. Not even if you're an Arsenal fan. I mean, anybody in football industry is waiting to see what happens with Arsene Wenger. When I was with him, he was superb, absolutely superb. I know it's moved on the times. And if they do keep him, I think it's very important they really look at their squad. I mean, the recruitment, you've got to buy a lot more quality players, really spend big money in the summer. And he's got to be allowed to do that. And the supporters have to know that the money's there available to do that. So it's a big decision they've got to make. And if the right man's out there to take the club forward, because I'm an Arsenal fan now, and I want the club to go and start winning trophies again. I mean, the big trophies like the League and the Champions League, then, I'm all for change. But it's very difficult to get the right man in. We've seen other clubs, when they change managers, it's been chopping and changes, and it doesn't always work out well for sides. But I'm sure Arsenal are going to make a big decision. And the players as well, Sanchez, Ozil, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Wilshere, all in their last year of their contract, which is going to be a little bit of a worry for Arsenal Football Club as well.
So keep him or let him go?
It's a tough one, it really is. I mean, again, you've got to weigh the situation up and see who's available. I'm sure there was reports they're sanding other managers out at the moment just in case he did go. But it's a really tough decision to make, and I'm a little bit 50-50. I really am. And I've always been there. When I do the radio show back in England, I get pelters at what they're going to do with Arsene Wenger. I know there's a lot of people frustrated with how it's gone, and they've been poor, but also the players have got to look at themselves, and the players, when they cross that white line, are not doing enough for Arsenal Football Club or themselves.
OK, let me put this scenario to you. Diego Simeone is available and wants the Arsenal job.
Well, I think that it's a situation where I could take a gamble and maybe go for him. He might change it to a little bit more negative, but he's a winner. He's won trophies before, and that's the sort of calibre of manager you want if you want Arsene Wenger to leave.
Yeah. What about Eddie Howe then?
I think Eddie needs to step up to the next level. I think Eddie's a super coach. He's done a brilliant job at Bournemouth, but I think there's another step for him before he maybe gets a job in the top four. And it is a step in, it's one of them situations for managers. You've got to keep learning. I'm sure Eddie's still learning every day with players and situations with what he's come up against at Bournemouth. But I just think it's a little bit too soon for Eddie Howe to step up into a top four club at the moment.
Scotland, England, Hampden. You guys, you lost to Germany in a friendly, but there's a lot of positives taken from it. Is there a sense now under Gareth Southgate you can just come to Hampden and win, because we seem to be in disarray?
Well, it's a totally different game though, isn't it? It's like a derby. Form doesn't matter in these sort of games. You've got to want it more than the other side. England, look, there was positives to take out of Germany. Free at the back. He probably might play now. I think it suits a lot of the players he's got. Gary Cahill and John Stones if he steps into the back three. Obviously play their club level football there, especially the wing backs with Carl Walker and Danny Rose are better going forward if they're going to play. But again, Scotland, you never know. I mean, it was a disappointing result against Canada. Obviously, a big weekend for Scotland in the qualifiers. They need to get a result this weekend, but it's such a hard game to call. And as I said before, form goes out the window. If England can play to their ability, they should win. But it doesn't always work out like that in these sort of games.
Yeah, form goes out the window, Gordon. I hope it goes right out the window and England have the biggest off day ever. By that time, we'll know whether we are goosed or not. I think Gordon Strachan definitely wants to be alive for that game.
Yeah, definitely. I think, form goes out the window. What he's more or less saying is England are a lot better, but you've still got a chance. That's what he's saying there, without doubt. He's saying that it's not a cut and dried. And it's true, to a certain extent, Scotland were competing very well against England over a long length of time. But at the moment, there's a gulf. And we can see it, and it'll be interesting to see. I think it'll be a tough game, but if we get a win tomorrow, then it becomes a meaningful game. If we don't win tomorrow, then it just becomes a friendly from our point of view.
Yeah, and I think you've got to hope at 5 o'clock, Hugh, that England dispatch Lithuania home with their tails between their legs.
I think they will as well. I mean, England's record in qualification campaigns is outstandingly good. I mean, I laugh that when they draw in Slovenia, everybody looks upon this as the end of the empire. And you go, well, what a great result that is, because my view is that Slovenia will finish second in the group. But I just think that my views on it. I think it's over. I think it's done. I think it's dusted. I think the only thing that we can look forward to, and I think it's even dusted for second place, I think that what we've got to look forward to is try and get some kind of cohesive plan and strategy going forward for the next campaign. And my big worry is not failing to qualify this time, because I think we have. It's the lack of interest that surrounds Scotland at the moment, the lack of passion that surrounds it, and I think that's a long-term problem for our international game.
Yeah, I think the problem as well that if we lose, and I think Gordon Strachan will walk away tomorrow if we lose this game, because I think he's more or less made it clear that's it. It's a must-win game. We've got 5 more games to play, so how quickly are they going to get somebody else in? Is it going to be a caretaker? Is it going to be somebody already they've established? Have they been looking at it to decide who the next Scotland manager is? And it's difficult to think of the candidates as such at the moment. I was thinking about that the other day, thinking who would come in, and it's not an easy one to decide.
No, here's the group table as it stands at the moment as far as Scotland are concerned. I mean, England are out in front, then it's Slovenia, Hughes favourite to finish second, then it's Slovakia, Lithuania, Scotland and Malta. So if Russell Martin is to be believed, we need to get to a situation where it's a win first of all before you have to even contemplate England, Ruffy.
Yeah, but I think we need to win. It's the hope. The good thing for me is we're not going into this game expecting to win. That's when it's usually a tragedy, when we're all up there in high hopes and then something happens. This time we're going along there and we'll all be biting our nails. And this might just be the game. A wee bit of luck, a wee bit of rub of the green. We know we've not got the players we used to have. We're not in any kind of form. We've played 3 games. We've only scored 1 goal. So we've not got anything to hang on to. All we've got is hope that the players can step up and Gordon Strachan gets the right team.
Yeah, I don't think I want to go out now tonight, Ruffy. You've kind of ruined.
I'll get you my bugle. I'll get you my bugle.
Yeah, absolutely.
The good news is, not only is you ruined tonight for you, but you're going to the game tomorrow with him, so he'll ruin that for you as well.
There's never a truer word spoken. I mean, the Tartan Army going to this. There are some members who just go and they're enthusiastic. Even when Scotland get absolutely hammered, they would still be celebrating. But there are others who are not fooled by it all and will look on and wonder what result we are going to get from it. I'm going to ask you guys for a scoreline, your prediction on this one tomorrow, and hopefully by the end of it we'll read out some of your tweets and messages as well. We'll give you the result of our poll with regards to who you think should start up front for Scotland. At Peter and Ruffy, you've still got time on Twitter to enter that poll and give us your thoughts on that. Hopefully we'll get a wee chat with Neil Lennon as well. We'll look at the results today once more and the tables as well. Join us after this quick break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Every Saturday 2 until 6 we've got our 3 pundits every week. Alan Ruff as ever alongside me, Peter Martin, but Gordon Smith and Hugh MacDonald. Best in the business, always guaranteed to argue with them because quite simply you do that with people that you admire and respect and occasionally don't get on with.
And occasionally don't admire and respect.
Yeah. See the safety there. OK, we're going to give you the full-time scores very shortly, but let's go to Easter Road because it was a dramatic finish in the match between Hibs and Falkirk. In the end, James Keatings won it in the last seconds with a wonder goal, and Neil Lennon, as you would expect, well happy with the result.
In the game in the manner that we did, because we haven't done that as often as I'd like this season. It's testament to the fitness and the character of the team. I think the mindset of them is strong. It was a great game of football. It was very exciting. I thought, Falkirk played their part in the game. And, they wouldn't be in the position they are without their manager. He's done a fantastic job. No disrespect to Falkirk, but I think he should be managing at a higher level. But to win today, it was really important, with Morton losing as well. So it could be a pivotal day in the run-in now. So I'm delighted, absolutely delighted.
Yeah, Neil Lennon delighted, and I think the general consensus from both managers, Hugh, is that Hibs are now certainties.
Yeah, I think that's enough. 10 points is enough. Morton and midweek would be the icing on the cake. I think that's such a really tight and competitive division that for really needs a team to go on a sustained run to catch them. So for me, Hibs have won it.
Yep, and as you would expect, Falkirk manager Peter Houston just reflecting on what might have been.
Put a lot into today's game, and fine margins. Sibby's almost on the end of the long ball over the top from Miles, and he could nick it over the goalkeeper. It was just a yard too far in front of him. He got the part and they get the break. And if I had to say to anybody, take Keating's his inside to his bad foot, but he can't mask the fact it was a quality finish. Robbie's not done an awful lot today throughout the match, and a hard-fought game. A hard-fought game where I felt probably a draw would have been a fair result, but unfortunately for us, it didn't work that.
Win the game.
Yep, Peter Houston delighted Neil Lennon and a despondent Peter Houston there after that last gasp winner. Elsewhere, it seemed to go well for Hibs because Morton lost to Dunfermline by a solitary goal and Nat Wedderburn. And here's how the table looks at the end of that. Hibs out in front with the 10 points and the game in hand. Morton with 2 games in hand, but they face Hibs on Wednesday evening. Dundee United, well, congratulations to Dundee United. They won the Challenge Cup today with a win over St Mirren. It didn't quite go according to plan though, Hugh MacDonald. Ayr United with a big win today over Dumbarton.
Another smashing result for Ayr on the bounce. Great result for them last week at Dunfermline. Backed it up this week after going a goal behind as well. Pleased for Ian McCall, because he, it's a part-time team. He'll have, been putting in the work trying to get things sorted out there. And I think those two victories now make it really interesting at the bottom. The Wraith I think Wraith are very much in that now because although John Hughes has given them a wee boost by coming in, but it's fascinating at the bottom of that league.
Yep. OK, here's the full-time scores, just in case you missed them from the Championship. We'll take you through all the lower leagues today. It took centre stage with no Premiership action. Ayr United 2, Dumbarton 1, Hibernian 2, Falkirk 1, Morton 0, Dunfermline 1, Wraith Rovers 1, Queen of the South 1, and as I mentioned earlier, Dundee United 2, St Mirren 1 in the Challenge Cup final. On to League 1, Alloa Athletic 2, Queen's Park 2, Brecon City 2, East Fife 1, Livingston 4, Airdrieonians 2, Peterhead 2, Stranraer 2, Stenhousemuir 0, Albion Rovers 3. I will correct that Queen's Park spelling as soon as I get there. I can see somebody who'll tweet us in about it. League 2, Annan Athletic 1, Cowdenbeath 0, Arbroath 0, Montrose 1, Clyde 2, Stirling Albion 3, Edinburgh City 3, Elgin City 0. and Forfar 2, Berwick Rangers 3. So that's how it looks across all of Scotland. The Premiership not in action because so many players on international duty. Just how many of the Celtic players will be in that starting lineup for you when Scotland take to the field tomorrow night, Hugh McDonald?
5, half the team. Craig Gordon, Kieran Tierney, Scott Brown, Stuart Armstrong and James Forrest.
I think 4. I think it'll be Gordon, Armstrong, Brown and Forrest. I think they'll play left back. I think it'll be Wallace or Robertson.
I think it'll be 5. I think the same as you said there just now. I think there'll be important players about the park. My worry was they've had a long season, the Celtic players, and I thought at Dundee they looked a bit tired in the end, and I hope that's not the case, that he has wrapped them up in cotton wool and they're fresh for this game.
Yep, it's going to be an interesting one against Slovenia. If Slovenia can get anything from this, I think it really cements what Hugh McDonald has been saying about their position in second. Certainly would put them in a favourable position. England, we expect to dispatch Lithuania. What approach should Gordon Strachan take tomorrow to this game, whoever he decides?
My approach would be, I would change the system. I would go with 3 at the back, for example, because I think where we're really strong is in wing backs going forward, but we tend to lose goals, so we need insurance. So I would go 3-5-2. It's not going to happen, but that's what I would do. If you ask me what's going to happen, it's 4-2-3-1.
And your striker?
If you're asking me again, I would take the huge gamble, and it is a huge gamble, of playing Griffiths, because Griffiths is not playing well. And not only is he not playing well, he's not playing. But I still would start with Griffiths, just because I think this is a roll the dice game. But that won't happen. I think Stephen Fletcher will start the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Fletcher will start the game too. But I'm the same. I would go with Griffiths as well. And I don't think he'll play 3 at the back, which it might be a good system if he did that, because Anya will be right back and he's more suited to attacking, and he's a good attacking player, not quite as comfortable, and if they have a strong left-sided player, it could put us under a bit of pressure. So I think I definitely would go with the 4, and I would go with 4-3-3. In terms of the 3 in the middle, I'd go with Brown as the centre one, and Armstrong on the right, Snodgrass on the left, Naismith. I would go with Griffiths and Forrest as my front 3.
I hate to be facetious about this, Ruffy, but if we can't even find 2 centre-halves, what chance have we got of putting 3 in the back line?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great. I mean, watching a lot of the international games there that are getting played, they're all playing 3 at the back, because these teams coming away from home now just play with 1 striker. And if you're comfortable that you've got a good centre-half playing on the left side and the right side and somebody in the middle, 3 should be able to handle 1. And the formations can change about. I like the guys, I think you'll go for the 5, some kind of 5 in the middle with 1 up front. I don't know. Fletcher, nobody's mentioned Fletcher. No, nobody's even spoken about him. So I think he's wrapped him up in cotton wool as well. So that leads me to think that he's going to play up front.
In a strange sort of way, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to Stephen Fletcher or the Chris Martin because of the performance in midweek, I think if you read the team sheet out and it had Stephen Fletcher on it, you would not lift that crowd.
You wouldn't really, but you know, he is a player. I think he's got potential. Most of his goals, to be fair, have come against the lesser opposition. There's no doubt about that.
Is this lesser opposition?
No. But if you take his goals, like, you know, Malta, Gibraltar, whatever, that was who he scored. But what he does is he does link up play well. I'll give him that. He's one of these players who he does bring other people into the game. He can go and control the ball. He's got a good touch. He passes the ball well. So I think that he's a decent player. And maybe if he does play, and then you've got the right sort of players coming through from midfield, you've got, say, Forrest on one side, Naismith who can get crosses in as well. He's a player that can go and attack the ball too. So it might just come good if Gordon Strachan plays him. And Gordon Strachan will be looking closer at it, thinking he'll know more about Slovenia's back line than we do. So he'll try and pick a team that actually is best team in order to give Slovenia a problem.
Yep. Here's the I suggested a possible lineup on this, Ruffy. Here's the possible lineup that I thought he might go for. Whether that happens or not is open to debate, with Gordon in goal. And then he's going to look at a back four, which I think will be Anya when you listen to his words, Martin, Mulgrew, and there's Tierney, and then Brown, Armstrong, Snodgrass, Forrest, Ritchie and Griffiths. I mean,
wouldn't have a problem with that team.
You'd be happy with
I wouldn't
that?
have a problem with that at all. I wouldn't, at this moment in time, criticise him if he put that team out. Obviously, depending on how the score goes, and then you can pick the bones in it. But no, if fielded that time, it's a positive team. There's goal scorers in it, particularly Snodgrass for free kicks, you know, who's always very dangerous, deliveries into the box. I would just like to find a Stephen Naismith role where somebody's playing off the striker, so we've got another threat. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, okay. Our poll, who should start up front for Scotland on Twitter today. Chris Martin got 2% of the votes, and Stephen Fletcher 5%, Stevie Naismith 14%, and Lee Griffiths 79%. Okay, briefly, prediction.
One each.
One each. If it's not one each, I think Scotland will be the winner. I don't think Slovenia are going to win the game. One each, but I think it will be two.
2-1 Scotland.
Okay, I'm ever the optimist on this one. I don't know why, but I'm going to go with you on this, Robbie. I think 2-1 to Scotland. Only time will tell. On Monday, we will debate either the fallout of carnage or the optimism as Scotland against England beckons. And Hugh McDonald will obviously be back with us next week, suggesting that despite a win, England are still coming. Thanks very much to the guys, Hugh, Gordon and Ruffy. Big day for Hibs. They won against Falkirk. They're 10 points clear at the top of the championship. Good night.
This is Ground.